Imagine sitting in a quiet room. No noise, no notifications, no one to impress. Just you, your thoughts, and the silence. For some, that sounds like peace. For others, it feels like a trap. But here's the truth. If silence makes you nervous, it means you haven't met yourself yet. Most people can't be alone without reaching for something. Music, a screen, a distraction. Not because they enjoy it, but because they're running from stillness, from self-reflection, from that deep, honest voice inside that only speaks when everything else is quiet. But here's the power you didn't know you had. When you learn to be alone, truly alone, you stop being afraid of life. You stop being afraid of people leaving, of opinions changing, of moments when no one claps. You become solid, calm, unshakable. This isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming complete. Today, you're going to discover 15 Stoic lessons that will show you how to use solitude as strength. These aren't just ideas. They are tools used by emperors, philosophers, and warriors to build a self that doesn't fall apart when left in silence. So, get ready, because after this video, your relationship with being alone will never be the same again. Before we begin, I want you to say this out loud or type it in the comments. Starting today, I am mastering solitude. I am stoic. You're not just saying a phrase, you're building a mindset, one that doesn't flinch when left with nothing but your own thoughts, one that finds peace, power, and purpose in quiet. Write it, say it, believe it. Let's begin. Number 1. Cultivate the fortress within. Sit still. No music, no phone, no people, just silence. How does it feel? For most, that moment feels like falling into a black hole. They get restless, anxious, even scared. Why? Because they never built anything inside. No structure, no grounding, no inner strength. They've built their life leaning on others, on noise, on attention, on constant movement. So the second it all fades, they collapse. But the Stoic doesn't collapse. The Stoic stands. Why? Because the Stoic builds a fortress inside, one that no one can touch and nothing can shake. You must start building that fortress today, not with bricks or cement, but with thoughts, values, and discipline. Build it with silence, build it with clarity, build it with strength that doesn't need applause to stand tall. Most people live like tents, easy to set up, easy to knock down. They depend on the weather, the people around them, the mood of the day. But a fortress stands through storms, through noise, through loss, through loneliness. A fortress doesn't panic when it's alone. It was built to stand alone. Think about your day. How often do you rush from one thing to another, texting, scrolling, listening to noise just to avoid silence? Most people can't sit still because the moment they do, their mind starts talking, and they're not ready to listen. The thoughts feel messy, scattered, and loud, so they run from it. But running doesn't help. Running makes it worse. The more you avoid solitude, the weaker your foundation becomes. The Stoic does the opposite. They turn down the volume of the world and walk into that inner space with purpose. They say, "This is where I will build. This is where I will live." Start by spending just 10 minutes a day with yourself. No distractions, just sit. It will feel uncomfortable at first. It's supposed to. But that's the point. You're training your mind to stop needing outside stimulation. You're showing yourself that silence is not empty. It's full of answers. During those 10 minutes, breathe, observe, let your mind settle. And when thoughts arise, don't run. Look at them. Are they helpful? Are they true? Are they even yours? This is how you build awareness. This is how you start placing the first stones in that fortress. Next, write. Not for social media, not to impress anyone, just for you. Write what you believe in. Write what you want to stand for. What values do you choose, even when no one is watching? What kind of life are you committed to living, even if you're the only one clapping? Because here's the hard truth. If your confidence only exists when someone's watching, it's not confidence, it's theater. And theater crumbles when the crowd leaves. But a fortress, it stands tall even when no one visits. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire. He had power, advisors, armies, yet every morning he turned inward. He wrote in his journal, reminding himself who he wanted to be. He wasn't writing for likes or approval. He was building, quietly, brick by brick, principle by principle, alone, but never weak. You have the same chance. You don't need a crowd. You don't need applause. You need structure inside your mind. You need rules you live by, even when no one's around to enforce them. That's what makes you strong. That's what makes you a fortress. So next time you feel lonely, don't ask, who can distract me? Ask instead, what have I built inside? If the answer is nothing, start building. If the answer is chaos, start cleaning. If the answer is fear, face it. Because one day, the noise will stop. The people will leave. The audience will vanish. And what you've built inside, that's what will remain. Will it be shaky, or will it stand? Make the decision now. Say it to yourself. I will build a fortress within, not for show, not for status, but for peace, for power, for strength that no one can take. Start today. Lay the first brick. Sit in silence. Face what you find. And begin the work of becoming unshakable. Number 2. Withdrawal is not weakness, it's refinement. Pulling away doesn't mean you're giving up. It doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you're broken or antisocial or cold. It means you're sharpening. Like a blade taken out of battle and placed on the stone. Like a warrior stepping off the field to clean his armor, to catch his breath, to prepare for what comes next. But most people don't understand this. They think stepping back is a sign of weakness. They think that the only way to be strong is to keep pushing, keep talking, keep showing up, keep being seen. So they stay busy, they stay loud, they stay in the noise, terrified of what silence might say. But a Stoic knows better. A Stoic knows that silence is not a threat, it's a teacher. That stepping back is not retreat, it's recovery. That withdrawal is not weakness, it's refinement. Think about it like this. Imagine a sword. You use it every day, you swing it in every fight. Over time, it dulls, the edge softens, it loses its bite. What happens if you never take the time to pull it from its sheath and sharpen it? Eventually, it becomes useless. It may still look strong, it may still feel heavy, but it can't cut anymore. The same happens to the mind. When you're always in noise, always around people, always chasing, defending, performing, your edge dulls. You forget who you are. You start thinking other people's opinions are facts. You start reacting instead of choosing. That's not strength, that's erosion. So what do? You withdraw. Not to disappear, not to sulk, but to realign, to strip away the nonsense, to remember what matters. That's what Stoics do. They step away so they can return stronger. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, but he often withdrew into silence. He would retreat into his journal, into his thoughts, into quiet. Not because he was weak, but because he knew that power without clarity is dangerous. Influence without reflection is chaos. In your life, you need this too. Take moments where you intentionally unplug. Say no to one more message. Turn off the background noise. Let the world move without you for a moment. It'll survive, and you'll come back clearer. Let people misunderstand your silence. Let them think you're distant. You don't owe them noise. You owe yourself alignment. And alignment can't be rushed. It has to be felt. It has to be sharpened in stillness. Withdrawal is not about running away from life. It's about running towards something deeper. It's about asking the hard questions. Am I living how I want to live? Have I started reacting more than choosing? Am I chasing approval instead of meaning? These answers don't come in the crowd. They come in solitude. Try this. Once a week, step back. No conversations, no screens. Just you, a notebook, and a question. Any question. Sit with it. Don't force an answer. Let your mind breathe. Let your inner compass point north again. Because when you're constantly surrounded, you lose your signal. You pick up other people's noise, their opinions, their fears. It all blends in. And soon, you can't tell what's yours and what's theirs. But when you withdraw, really withdraw, you give your soul room to speak. And when your soul speaks, listen. You'll notice something powerful. Clarity returns. Not all at once, not with fireworks, but quietly, like fog lifting, like a blade finding its edge again. So the next time you feel tired of people, of noise, of pretending, don't push through. Pull back. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise. Say it. I withdraw not to escape, but to refine. I step back to sharpen. I choose solitude to remember who I am. That's not quitting. That's mastery. That's Stoicism. Number 3. Companionship should be a choice, not a crutch. Let's be honest. How many people spend time with others not because they truly enjoy it, but because they're afraid of what happens when they're alone? They're not drawn to company from joy. They're driven by fear. Fear of silence, fear of their own thoughts, fear of being left behind, unnoticed, or forgotten. But a Stoic doesn't fear aloneness. A Stoic doesn't chase connection to escape solitude. They connect because they are whole already, not because they're trying to feel whole. There's a big difference. Most people use companionship like a crutch. They lean on others because they don't know how to walk on their own. They constantly check their phone, not because they have something important to say, but because they can't stand the quiet. They jump into relationships not from love, but from loneliness. They talk, text, scroll, hang out, not because they enjoy it, but because they can't bear the thought of being by themselves for a single evening. That's not strength. That's dependency. But the Stoic flips the script. The Stoic learns how to stand before they ever reach for a hand. They learn how to walk alone, so that if they choose to walk with someone, it's because they want to, not because they have to. And that changes everything. When you no longer need others to feel okay, you show up differently. Your energy shifts. You stop seeking to be filled. You start showing up already full. You don't need their attention to feel seen. You don't need their praise to feel valuable. You don't need their company to feel alive. You simply enjoy them. That's it. Love, in this state, becomes pure. It's not hunger. It's generosity. It's not complete me. It's share this moment with me. And that shift, right there, is the foundation of Stoic companionship. So, how do you get there? Start by spending time with yourself on purpose. Take a walk without music. Sit in a cafe without checking your phone. Cook dinner just for you. Learn to enjoy your own presence. At first, it might feel strange, awkward, even painful, but that's the withdrawal talking. That's the discomfort of breaking the addiction to constant company. Push through it. On the other side is freedom. Ask yourself, do I enjoy my own company? If not, why should anyone else? This isn't self-criticism, it's self-inquiry. Because the truth is, the more you learn to enjoy yourself, the less pressure you place on others to entertain you, save you, complete you, or fix you. Friendship then becomes a bonus, not a need. You stop clinging. You stop panicking when someone pulls away. You stop measuring your worth by how many messages you got today. You start choosing relationships from peace, not panic. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Be like the rocky cliff against which the waves continually crash, but it stands firm." That's how a Stoic loves. They stand firm. Whether people come or go, whether the room is full or empty, whether the text gets answered or not, the Stoic stays centered. They don't chase, they don't beg, they don't crumble. And ironically, that kind of self-possession is magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need them. There's something calming about being around someone who doesn't pull at your energy, who can sit in silence without making it awkward, who can enjoy you but doesn't depend on you. That's who you become when you turn companionship from a crutch into a choice. So repeat this to yourself. I do not seek people to escape myself. I do not chase company out of fear. I enjoy others, but I do not need them to feel whole. My peace is mine. My strength is internal. I walk with others only when I've already learned how to walk alone. This isn't isolation. This is freedom. This is Stoicism. Number 4. The crowd is loud, but rarely correct. Listen to the noise, the endless noise. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone's talking about what to wear, how to think, what to chase, who to follow, what success means, what failure looks like. But ask yourself this, in all that noise, where is the truth? Because the truth is rarely shouted. It's usually quiet. It's hidden. It's found not in crowds, but in silence. Most people don't seek truth. They seek comfort. They follow what's popular, what's trending, what's easy to agree with. Why? Because standing alone is hard. It takes courage to step away from the group, to think for yourself, to live by your own values, even if no one claps for them. But that's what the Stoic does. The Stoic trains themselves to be alone, not just physically, but mentally. To not rely on the crowd for confidence, to not need the noise for direction. You must learn to do the same. The crowd is tempting. It gives you a sense of belonging. It gives you distractions. It gives you a script to follow. But the problem is, the crowd often moves in the wrong direction. It chases pleasure, not purpose. It loves comfort more than character. It rewards performance more than principle. So if you follow it blindly, you'll lose yourself quietly. That's why the Stoic trains solitude like a muscle. They don't just avoid the crowd. They build strength away from it, because they know clarity doesn't come from more voices, it comes from fewer, and often the only voice you need to hear is your own. But here's the tricky part. Most people don't know how to listen to their own mind. They've filled it with too much of the outside world, too many opinions, too many comparisons, too many shoulds and musts. So when they finally sit in silence, it feels scary. It feels empty. They mistake stillness for loneliness. But being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a hunger for connection. Solitude is peace with self. The lonely person can stand in a crowd and still feel unseen, still feel hollow, still feel lost. Because being surrounded doesn't guarantee connection. And being alone doesn't mean something's wrong. A Stoic understands this. They make peace with their mind. They train it, organize it, clear out the clutter. So when they are alone, they don't panic. They reflect, they rest, they rebuild. Try this. When the world is loud, don't match its volume. Lower yours. Step back. Ask, is this noise helping me grow, or is it distracting me? If it's distraction, let it go. Not everything loud deserves your attention. Build a moment into your day where you disconnect from the crowd. No news, no social media, no groupthink. Just you, your breath, and your thoughts. Let your mind stretch. Let it breathe. Ask yourself, what do I actually believe? What do I want from this life? What am I pretending to care about just because others do? These are hard questions, but silence helps you answer them. And once you start answering them honestly, you become someone the crowd can't confuse anymore. Marcus Aurelius led millions, yet he never lost his stillness. Because his mind wasn't ruled by the crowd, it was trained in solitude. He said, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do." So say this to yourself, I do not follow noise. I do not depend on the crowd. I train my solitude. I find peace with myself. I choose truth over popularity. And I am never lonely when I walk with clarity. Because in the end, the loudest voices often carry the smallest truths. But the one who has made peace with their mind, that one speaks quietly and walks powerfully. That's the Stoic way. Number 5, stillness is a mirror. Face what appears. Be honest. When everything goes quiet, no music, no scrolling, no conversations, how long can you sit there before you reach for something? Anything. A phone, a snack, a distraction. Silence, for most people, feels like suffocation. But for the Stoic, it's something else entirely. It's a mirror. Stillness is not just emptiness, it's reflection. It shows you what's really going on beneath the surface. The things you've been avoiding, the thoughts you've been hiding, the truths you've been covering up with noise. And here's the hard part. Most people don't want to see it. Because when you sit in stillness, the masks fall off. The roles you play, the image you maintain, the ego you defend, all of it fades. What's left is you, the real you, the unfiltered version. And that's terrifying if you've never taken the time to meet yourself. But the Stoic has. They don't run from the mirror. They sit with it. They stare into it. They welcome what appears, because only by facing it can they clean it. See, most people are so busy pretending to be okay that they never stop to ask if they actually are. They fill their days with movement, their nights with noise, and their minds with distraction. just to avoid sitting alone with themselves. But when you avoid the mirror, you avoid growth. When you avoid stillness, you avoid truth. Try this. Take 10 minutes. No phone, no background noise. Just sit. Don't try to meditate. Don't try to do it right. Just sit. Breathe. And notice what comes up. You might hear a voice say, "I feel behind," or "I'm afraid I'm not good enough," or "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." And in that moment, you'll want to run, to turn on music, to check a notification, to distract yourself. But don't. Stay, because that's the mirror doing its job. That's the truth rising to the surface, and only when it rises can it be cleaned. Stillness isn't about being calm, it's about being honest. It's about stripping away the noise so you can finally hear what your mind's been trying to tell you. It's about sitting in the middle of your own storm and refusing to flinch. Marcus Aurelius did this. Every morning before he faced the empire, he sat in stillness. He wrote, he reflected, he faced his thoughts, his doubts, his pride, his pain. He didn't hide from them. He cleaned them. He sharpened his soul by staring into the mirror of silence until clarity appeared. You must do the same. Stillness is not punishment. It is a gift. It's the quiet room where wisdom lives, but you must be brave enough to walk in. So ask yourself, what comes up when I sit alone? What am I afraid to see? What am I pretending not to know? Because here's the truth. The parts of you that make you uncomfortable, those are the parts that need your attention. Not your shame, not your fear, your attention. The Stoic doesn't judge what they see in the mirror. They simply see it and begin to clean. Thought by thought, pattern by pattern, reaction by reaction, until clarity replaces confusion, until peace replaces panic. So the next time stillness finds you, don't rush past it, don't fill it with sound, don't scroll it away. Sit in it. Let it show you what needs to be seen. And then face it like a warrior. Say this: I will not fear silence. I will not run from my reflection. I will sit. I will look. I will face whatever appears, and I will clean the mirror of my mind until what remains is clear, steady, and true. That is the work of the Stoic, not to avoid themselves, but to meet themselves fully, in stillness, in truth, in power. Number 6. Your mind is a room. Furnish it with strength. Close your eyes for a second and picture your mind as a room. What does it look like? Is it calm, clean, and solid, or messy, loud, and unstable? For many, it's a room filled with clutter, regrets in one corner, anxiety stacked in boxes, distractions buzzing around like flies, and silence hanging in the air like something to be feared. But the Stoic sees this room differently. The Stoic understands that the mind is not just a place where thoughts happen, it's where life happens. And just like any room, it needs to be built, arranged, and cared for. If you leave it unattended, it decays. If you fill it with junk, it becomes unlivable. But if you furnish it with reason, virtue, and discipline, it becomes a cathedral. Here's the truth. Being alone reveals the state of your inner room. If silence feels like a threat, it's not because something's wrong with silence. It's because something's been neglected inside you. Solitude doesn't create panic. It just exposes it. It turns off the external volume and lets you hear what's really echoing inside. And that's exactly why most people avoid it. Because when the noise fades, they realize they never made their mind a home. They made it a storage unit. But the Stoic builds a temple in there. They furnish it carefully, thought by thought, habit by habit. They ask, is this belief useful? Does this emotion serve me? Is this fear true or just familiar? And every time they ask those questions, they remove what doesn't belong. They clear out the drama. They throw away the need for constant approval. They sweep up the broken pieces of old stories they no longer believe in, and in its place, they add strength. Discipline becomes the chair they sit in. Gratitude becomes the window that lets in light. Logic becomes the walls that keep storms out. And virtue becomes the foundation, the floor they walk on every day. So now when the world goes quiet, the Stoic doesn't panic. They rest. Because their mind isn't a prison. It's a sanctuary, a place they want to return to, a place that gives them clarity, not chaos. But building that takes work. Start small. Each day, take a few minutes to clean your mental room. Sit with a journal and write out the clutter. What's been bothering you? What fear keeps knocking on the door? What thought keeps spinning in circles with no direction? Once you see it, challenge it. Don't just accept every thought like it belongs. Question it, clean it, replace it. Then add something strong. A Stoic quote, a clear intention, a reminder of who you are, something that anchors you in reality, something that reminds you that your room, your mind, is yours to design. Because here's the truth, no one tells you. If you don't design your mental space, the world will do it for you. And the world doesn't furnish with peace. It furnishes with fear, comparison, and distraction. So reclaim it. Make your inner space so solid that even when everything outside falls apart, you still have somewhere to stand, somewhere to breathe, somewhere that feels like home. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily not just to express, but to organize, to clear space, to polish the marble floors of his inner room. He did this so that when chaos knocked, he didn't open the door with panic. He opened it with presence. You can do the same. So repeat this. My mind is my home. I will not leave it to rot. I will not fill it with junk. I will build it with virtue, clean it with clarity, and guard it with wisdom. When I sit alone, I will sit in strength, not fear. That is how the Stoic lives, not waiting for silence to feel safe, but shaping their mind until silence becomes sacred. Build your room, furnish it with strength, then sit in it and rest in who you've become. Number 7. Practice the internal dialogues. Most people talk to themselves all day long, but they don't realize it. It's not always out loud. It's silent, constant, and automatic. A voice in the background of every decision, every moment, every emotion. I'm not good enough. They don't like me. I'll never figure this out. These thoughts play like whispers on repeat, and most never stop to ask, where is this voice coming from? Is it even true? But the Stoic does. The Stoic listens on purpose, and more importantly, they respond. They don't treat thoughts like commands. They treat them like questions. They engage. They investigate. They push back. They turn their solitude into a conversation, not with noise, but with reason. They practice what Epictetus called internal dialogue, a way of guiding the self from within. When they are alone, they don't just sit in silence. They think in silence. They ask, is this emotion helpful or is it just loud? Am I reacting or am I responding? Is this belief mine Or did I inherit it without testing it? This is what sets the Stoic apart from the reactive world. While most people drift through thoughts like leaves in the wind, the Stoic steps into the storm and takes the wheel. So what does that look like in your life? It means catching your inner voice in the act and responding with intention. When your mind says, "I can't do this," don't just accept it. Ask, why not? What proof do I have? Am I speaking from fear or fact? This isn't positive thinking. This is clear thinking. Internal dialogue is not about lying to yourself. It's about correcting yourself. It's about being your own advisor, your own coach, your own Socrates. Because the truth is, no one knows your mind like you do, and no one is with you more than you are. So if your internal voice is cruel, chaotic, or confused, how can your life be calm? You must train that voice, shape it, sharpen it. One powerful practice is journaling, not to vent, but to converse. Write down a thought you've been having, then question it, respond to it, challenge it. Turn the page into a dialogue between the part of you that panics and the part of you that stands firm. For example, thought, "I'll never succeed." Response, where did that come from? Is that based on reality or on fear? What have I overcome before? What can I do now? This is how the Stoic moves from emotion to clarity, from fear to wisdom. It's not about silencing the voice, it's about refining it. Marcus Aurelius did this every day. His meditations weren't written for the world, they were written for himself, to argue with his own doubts, to reason through his own pain, to strengthen his inner voice until it spoke with calm authority. And that's the goal, to have a mind that doesn't scream at you, but advises you, that doesn't beat you down, but lifts you up with truth. A mind that says, "Let's think this through," instead of, "You're failing again." Solitude becomes powerful when your inner voice becomes wise, when your alone time becomes a think tank, not a panic room. So try this. Next time you feel overwhelmed, don't just feel it, talk to it. Sit down, ask questions, write answers, get to the bottom of it. Turn your mind into your mentor. Repeat this to yourself. I am not just the listener of thoughts. I am the speaker of reason. I question what arises. I refine what repeats. I am not led by my mind. I lead it. This is how a Stoic becomes calm, not by silence alone, but by mastering the conversation within. So don't waste your solitude. Use it. Use it to build the strongest advisor you'll ever have, the one inside your own head. Number 8. Admire the ones who walk alone without flinching. Watch closely. Not at the person who speaks the loudest, not the one constantly surrounded, not the one chasing likes, laughs, or validation. Watch the quiet one, the one who walks into the room calmly, unbothered, with no need to prove, perform, or please. That's the strong one. That's the Stoic. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, saw this clearly. Despite all the attention, all the people, all the power, he admired most those who could be alone and not shrink. Those who didn't need a stage, who didn't panic in silence, who didn't run to distraction every time the world got quiet. He saw strength not in noise, but in self-containment. And you should too, because in today's world, it's rare. Everyone is connected, digitally, socially, endlessly. But deep down, most people are terrified of being alone. Not just physically, but mentally. They don't know what to do without something to scroll, someone to talk to, or something to distract them. So they seek entertainment. They chase approval. They drown in stimulation. But here's the truth. If a person can't be alone, their peace is borrowed, and anything borrowed can be taken. That's not power. That's dependency. A Stoic chooses a different path. They train to walk alone, not out of bitterness or pride, but out of strength. They learn to stand in silence and not flinch, to sit with their own thoughts and not be consumed, to face their own reflection and not look away. Why? Because they've built something inside, and once you have that, you stop needing the world to fill the space. You become the space. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means learning to carry your own energy, to not drain others, to not depend on constant reassurance or stimulation to feel okay. It means developing a peace that is yours, fully, quietly, and unshakably. And ironically, when you become that kind of person, the kind who doesn't need the crowd, you become the one the crowd watches. People are drawn to the self-contained because in a world that screams, the one who moves calmly, speaks quietly, and thinks clearly becomes magnetic, not by effort, but by essence. So how do you start building that kind of presence? Begin by removing the need for constant engagement. Go for a walk with no music. Sit with a coffee and no phone. Go to a park or a cafe and don't try to look busy. Just be. Let your mind wander. Let your emotions rise. Let the discomfort pass, and eventually it will. What's left behind is a deeper sense of calm, a deeper sense of self. Train this daily. Build this strength like a muscle. And soon, solitude won't scare you. It'll sharpen you. The next time you're tempted to seek noise, ask yourself, am I reaching for this because I enjoy it, or because I'm avoiding something? Would I still want this if no one else saw it? Who am I when the room is empty? These questions strip away the illusions. They bring you back to your core, and if your core is stable, then no storm can shake you. So say this: I admire not the loudest, but the calmest, not the one surrounded, but the one self-contained. I build a presence that needs no audience. I walk alone, not because I have to, but because I can. Admire the ones who walk alone, then become one. Because when you no longer flinch in silence, when you no longer chase the crowd, when you have everything you need inside, that's when you become unshakable. That's when you become stoic. Number 9. Rehearse isolation before life imposes it. One day, life will take something from you. It may be comfort, it may be company, it may be the people you thought would never leave. And when it happens, because it will, most will panic, most will fall, most will ask, why me? But the Stoic won't be surprised. They've been here before. They've trained for this. Because a Stoic doesn't wait for life to strip things away before preparing. They rehearse isolation in advance. They fast from comfort. They detach from noise. They spend time alone, not because they have to, but because they know one day they will. And when that day comes, they're ready. See, most people treat solitude like punishment. They only face it when life forces them to. A breakup, a loss, a betrayal. A moment when the phone stops buzzing and the room suddenly feels too quiet. In those moments, people crumble, not because they're weak, but because they never practiced being alone. But Stoics do, intentionally, voluntarily, like fasting, not from food, but from attention, from connection, from dependence. Why? Because training in peace prepares you for chaos. Practicing solitude when you don't need it builds strength for when you do. Think about it like this. If you only train when the battle begins, you're already behind. But if you've trained every day in silence, in stillness, in solitude, then when life brings the storm, your foundation holds. This is the Stoic mindset. Anticipate hardship. Prepare the soul. Don't fear loneliness. Master it. So how do you rehearse isolation? Start small. Take 1 day a week where you don't reach out to anyone unless it's essential. No texting to avoid boredom. No scrolling to feel connected. Just sit with your day as it is. You'll notice how often your hand reaches for distractions. That's your dependency showing. Let it rise, then resist it. You're not punishing yourself, you're training yourself. Or try this. Take a people fast. Choose a few hours or even a full day where you don't engage socially, not to sulk, but to strengthen. Use the time to reflect, to write, to read, to observe your thoughts, to remember that your worth doesn't come from interaction, but from identity. Marcus Aurelius called this preparing the mind for fortune's reversals. He knew that wealth could be lost, people could die, positions could change, and the only safety was the mind you built in advance. The same applies to you. If you depend on others to feel stable, what happens when they're gone? If your peace depends on routine, what happens when life disrupts it? If your strength depends on being supported, what happens when no one shows up? A Stoic answers with preparation. They rehearse the worst, not to suffer, but to reduce its power. They walk through imagined loss so they can handle real loss. They face solitude by choice, so it doesn't break them by force. This is not pessimism, it's wisdom. So say this: I will not wait for life to shake me before I prepare. I will train now, in silence, in solitude, in simplicity. I will fast from comfort to build resilience. I will rehearse isolation not to avoid connection, but to master myself. Because when life takes away what you thought you couldn't live without, what remains will be your training, your strength, your soul. And if that soul has been built in solitude, refined in stillness, and shaped by practice, then nothing life strips away can weaken you. That's not just survival, that's Stoicism. Number 10. Remove the default need for validation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want to be alone because they're addicted to being seen. Not truly seen, but acknowledged, liked, praised, clapped for. They measure their value by reaction. Their confidence comes from compliments. Their identity is shaped by external reflection. So when no one's watching, they feel invisible. And when they feel invisible, they feel worthless. But the Stoic sees things differently. The Stoic uses solitude like a detox, a spiritual fast. Not from food, but from feedback. They step away from the noise, on purpose, to see what remains when there is no audience, no applause, no attention. Because that's when the real question shows up. If no one approves of me, do I still approve of myself? This is the test, and most people fail it because they never practice it. The modern world is designed to reward performance. Post something and you get hearts. Say the right thing and you get praise. Stay visible and you stay relevant. But all of it creates a subtle, dangerous dependency on being validated by others to feel worthy. The Stoic removes this default. They unplug from the loop. They don't stop being visible out of fear. They do it out of strength. They retreat into silence, not to hide, but to examine, to clean the mirror, to ask the deeper question, am I still me when no one is looking? And if the answer is no, then it's time to rebuild. Because if your self-worth crumbles when the spotlight turns off, then what you had wasn't self-worth. It was a performance, and performance is fragile. It can be cancelled, ignored, or forgotten. But character stays, especially in solitude. So how do you detox from validation? Start by observing how often you seek it. When you finish a task, do you need someone to notice? When you dress a certain way, is it for yourself or for someone else's approval? When you speak, do you say what's true or what will be received well? These aren't accusations, they're invitations to look deeper, to find the roots. Then remove one layer at a time. Write something and don't share it. Take a walk and don't document it. Do something good and tell no one. Feel the discomfort. That's your dependency surfacing. Stay with it. Don't run back to the applause. Sit in the silence and ask yourself, why do I need someone to see this? Over time, the craving weakens, and something stronger takes its place: internal validation. That's the Stoics' goal, not to be praised, but to be principled, not to impress, but to improve. To live in a way where the judgment of others becomes a whisper, not a command. Marcus Aurelius never wrote his meditations for an audience. He didn't care about followers. He wrote for himself, to anchor his values, to stay clear, to remember what mattered, especially when the world praised or criticized him. You must do the same, because life will not always give you praise. People will not always understand. Sometimes they'll ignore you entirely, and if your identity depends on them, then your peace will rise and fall with their opinions. But if you build your worth in solitude, no one can take it. So say this: I do not perform for approval. I do not beg for praise. I do not need an audience to be myself. I validate my own path. I live by my principles, not their applause. This is what solitude teaches. Not how to be alone, but how to be whole. Not how to disappear, but how to stand unshaken. Not how to impress others, but how to respect yourself. That's real validation. And it's forged in silence. It's built through Stoicism. Number 11. Solitude is the parent of self-authorship. Who are you when no one's watching? Not who you pretend to be, not who you've been told to be, but who you are, unfiltered, unedited, unapproved. Most people don't know, not because they're fake, but because they've never had the silence to figure it out. The world makes it hard to write your own script. There's always an audience, always someone to impress, always a standard to meet. And so, without realizing it, most people become editors, not authors. They adjust their behavior to fit the room. They adjust their words to please the group. They shrink or stretch themselves to match the mold. But a Stoic breaks the pattern. A Stoic steps into solitude not just to escape noise, but to finally stop editing, to start writing from the soul, not the script handed to them by the world. This is what self-authorship means: to define yourself from the inside out, to stop asking, who should I be? And start asking, who do I choose to be? And that question, that decision, only happens in silence. When you're alone, truly alone, something strange happens. You start hearing a voice that's not shaped by pressure, not filtered by fear, not dressed up for approval. It's quieter, yes, but it's yours. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. You start recognizing which parts of your life are real and which parts were just roles. So you start rewriting. You drop habits that were just for show. You stop saying things just because they sound smart. You stop doing things just because someone else said that's how life works. You start peeling off the layers that don't belong, and under them you find something rare, you. But it doesn't happen in public. It doesn't happen in performance. It happens in solitude. That's why the Stoic values time alone, not as isolation, but as revelation. They know identity formed in noise is fragile, but identity formed in stillness becomes solid, unshakable, authored. This doesn't mean you reject everyone. It means you stop letting everyone else hold the pen. It means you pick up the pen yourself and write a story that actually reflects your values, your principles, your truth. Try this. Spend time each week without outside input. No scrolling, no feedback, no likes. Just sit and ask yourself, what do I want to stand for? What do I believe in when no one is telling me what to believe? What have I been pretending to enjoy just to fit in? Then write. Not for anyone else, just for you. Page by page, sentence by sentence. You are creating the blueprint for a life that's real, not borrowed. Marcus Aurelius did this. His journal wasn't for the empire, it was for the emperor. A space where he reminded himself of who he was, not who others needed him to be. He used solitude to return to his essence, to write and rewrite his role in the world, based not on reaction, but on reflection. You can do the same. So say this: I am no longer an actor in someone else's script. I do not edit my identity to match the room. I author my values in solitude. I decide who I am, and I write it in silence. That's what solitude gives you. Not just quiet, but authorship. Not just rest, but rebirth. And once you write your own script, you stop needing a role in someone else's. That's Stoicism. That's power. That's you becoming the author of your own life. Number 12. Choose solitude over surveillance. You don't need to be watched to exist. You don't need to be liked to be valuable. You don't need to be seen to be real. But the world tries to convince you otherwise. Modern life is a stage. Cameras in our pockets, notifications as applause. Everything shared, everything tracked. People post their meals, their workouts, their thoughts, not always because they want to, but because it feels like they have to. If they don't document it, did it even happen? That's not living. That's performing under constant surveillance. The Stoic rejects that. The Stoic trains for something different. They choose solitude, not just from people, but from being observed. They live in moments that are unseen. They think thoughts no one hears. They experience joy that never gets posted. They know that the most sacred parts of life aren't for show, they're for self. When you do something good and no one claps, would you still do it? When you learn something deep but don't share it, is it still valuable? When you create beauty but keep it private, does it still matter? The Stoic answers, yes, because not everything has to be proven to be true. Not everything has to be shared to be real. Solitude teaches this. When you're alone and no one is watching, you remember how to live for yourself again. You stop waiting for feedback. You stop shaping your life around optics. You start living in full color even when the camera's off. Try this. For one day, do everything without sharing it. Work out, read, cook, write, just for you. Don't tell anyone. Don't post. Don't look for approval. Just be. Feel how strange it is at first. That's the withdrawal from surveillance. It will pass. Then something powerful happens. Freedom, a deep exhale, a reconnection with the present moment, a realization that your life is yours again. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most watched men in the ancient world, wrote his most powerful thoughts in private. His meditations were never meant for readers. They were exercises in unseen reflection. He knew that greatness doesn't need an audience, it needs truth. And truth lives in solitude. So ask yourself, would I still do this if no one ever saw it? Would I still hold this value if no one praised it? Would I still follow this path if it never became a post? If the answer is yes, you've found something real. Because a Stoic lives not to impress, but to align. Not to be seen, but to be whole. They don't need a witness to validate their discipline, their peace, or their joy. So say this: I live in unseen hours. I grow when no one watches. I create for meaning, not approval. I don't need to be visible to be valuable. My solitude is sacred, and mine alone. Choose solitude over surveillance. Choose presence over performance. Choose a life that doesn't need to be recorded, because it's already being lived. That's the quiet power of the Stoic, unafraid of being unseen, because what matters most isn't shared, it's kept. Number 13. Aloneness is the final test of inner freedom. People talk about freedom like it's all about movement, where you can go, what you can do, how much you own. But ask this: what good is all that freedom if you can't sit in a room by yourself without feeling lost? What kind of liberty is it if silence feels like suffocation and your own mind becomes a prison the moment the noise fades? The Stoic sees freedom differently. To the Stoic, true freedom isn't external. It's internal. It's not the ability to travel the world. It's the ability to sit still and feel no chains pulling at your peace. The Stoic defines freedom as this: the ability to be with yourself and feel full. No distractions, no audience, no dopamine hits. Just you and peace. That's rare. Most people can't handle that level of quiet. The moment things slow down, they reach for something. A screen, a call, a plan, anything to fill the space that solitude creates. But the problem isn't the silence. It's the unrest within. It's the internal noise, the unaddressed thoughts, the unsettled mind. And that's where the Stoic does their work. They don't run from that moment. They lean into it. They treat aloneness not as a punishment, but as a test of their self-possession, a test of their mental strength, a test of their freedom. Because when you strip away the noise, the habits, the validation, the movement, what's left is the raw version of you. And if that version is still calm, centered, and content, then you've built something unbreakable. Marcus Aurelius ruled everything, yet often reflected on how little he truly needed. He reminded himself daily that if stripped of title, comfort, or company, he would still have what mattered: his reason, his values, his self. That was his measure of freedom. Not what the world gave, but what it couldn't take. Try this for yourself. Sit alone for 30 minutes. No phone, no music, no people, just a chair, your breath, and your mind. Watch what happens. The discomfort might rise. Thoughts may flood in. Old memories, fears, doubts. Let them. You're not there to escape them. You're there to face them. And when you do, say this: I am not here to run. I am here to witness, to watch my thoughts, to meet myself, to sit calmly in the company of my own soul. Because that's what most never do. They keep moving, keep talking, keep avoiding. They fear that if they stop, they'll fall apart. But the Stoic stops and stands still, and in that stillness they find their strength. This is inner freedom, when no one else is around to lift you and you rise anyway, when nothing outside is exciting and yet you feel fulfilled, when there's no audience to applaud but you act with integrity all the same. Freedom isn't granted by society. It's earned in solitude. So ask yourself, can I sit with myself and feel whole? Can I be my own peace, my own joy, my own anchor? If the world paused tomorrow, would I still stand? If yes, you are free. If not, it's time to begin the training, to strip away the noise, face your mind, and build the kind of peace that no storm, no silence, and no solitude can shake. Say it with clarity. I am no longer afraid of being alone. I welcome the silence. I do not need escape. I need presence. And in this moment, I reclaim my freedom, not by movement, but by mastery of self. Because once you pass the test of being alone and not flinching, you have passed the rarest test of all. The test of true inner liberation, the test only the Stoic dares to take. Number 14. Detachment isn't coldness, it's composure. People often misunderstand detachment. They think it means shutting down, becoming cold, pushing people away, or living without feeling. But that's not detachment. That's avoidance. That's emotional numbness, pretending to be strength. True Stoic detachment isn't about closing the heart. It's about guarding it without locking it away. The Stoic doesn't feel less. They simply don't let feelings control them. Because here's the truth. When your peace depends on others, how they treat you, how they respond to you, whether they stay or leave, you are always on emotional thin ice. One wrong word, one missed message, one bad mood from someone else, and your whole day collapses. That's not strength. That's emotional outsourcing. The Stoic chooses something deeper, something quieter, something more powerful. They choose sovereignty, and sovereignty begins in solitude. It's in the stillness, in the aloneness, that the Stoic learns the secret. You can generate your own peace. You can create your own emotional climate. You don't need someone else to bring you warmth, approval, or reassurance. You can build that from within. You can light your own fire. And once you learn how to do that, you become untouchable. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've stopped depending. This is the real meaning of detachment. It's not the absence of love. It's the absence of need. It's not about closing your heart. It's about opening it without handing someone else the keys to your peace. And the only place that lesson is learned is alone. When you spend time in solitude, you start to see it clearly. How often your mood rises and falls based on others. How often you chase connection to feel worthy. How often you give away your energy, hoping someone else will refill it. And then you stop. You stop begging for warmth and start building it. You stop waiting for peace and start practicing it. You stop reaching for others to stabilize you, and you become your own anchor. The Stoic becomes a self-contained sun, not in arrogance, not in isolation, but in quiet power. So how do you start? Take time alone, not just to be quiet, but to regulate. When the urge comes to text someone for comfort, sit instead. When you want to scroll for a dose of connection, breathe instead. When you feel a wave of insecurity rising, meet it, not with distraction, but with presence. Say to yourself, "This feeling is mine. I don't need someone else to fix it. I don't need someone else to validate it. I can sit with it. I can hold it. I can release it." Practice this, and you'll begin to feel something rare: emotional independence. Not coldness, but composure. Because you'll know, deep in your bones, that you are not the weather. You are the sun, the source, the warmth. And when you enter relationships from that place, everything changes. You no longer cling. You no longer panic. You no longer break when someone pulls away. Because your peace wasn't borrowed, it was built. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A mind free from passions is a fortress." That's not the fortress of a cold man. It's the fortress of a composed one. A man who can love without need, give without depletion, stand without support. So say this: I am not cold, I am composed. I do not push people away. I simply do not hand them control of my inner world. I generate my own light. I keep my own rhythm. I am whole, not because I have everything, but because I am everything I need. That is detachment. Not distance, but balance. Not coldness, but inner fire. Not isolation, but strength without dependence. That is what the Stoic builds in solitude. And that is what makes them glow, no matter how dark the world gets. Number 15. Leave the crowd. Return with power. Solitude isn't a place you hide in forever. It's a place you go to transform. The Stoic knows this. They don't vanish into stillness to escape life. They go there to sharpen themselves, to rebuild their center, to return stronger. Because true Stoicism doesn't isolate, it recalibrates. It doesn't retreat forever, it prepares. And when the Stoic returns, the difference is undeniable. They don't come back seeking validation. They don't need attention. They don't walk into the room hoping to be seen, heard, or liked. They carry something deeper, something quieter, something more powerful. It's presence, a presence shaped in silence, a stillness that speaks louder than noise, an energy that doesn't demand, but commands. Most people enter a room looking to absorb energy, to pull from the crowd, to find belonging by blending in. But the Stoic, they bring the energy, they bring the calm, they bring the clarity, because they spent time alone, not emptying themselves, but filling up. And when you've mastered solitude, you stop arriving as a question. You arrive as a statement. The crowd feels it, even if they don't understand it. There's something different about you. You don't react the way others do. You don't scramble for attention. You don't flinch under silence. You walk with stillness, not because you're shy, but because you no longer need the noise. That is power. But it only comes from the work done in solitude. The nights when you chose journaling over texting. The mornings when you sat in stillness instead of scrolling. The afternoons when you walked without headphones, letting your thoughts settle instead of running from them. All of that builds something invisible, but unmistakable. So when you re-enter the world, you don't return looking for something. You return as something, solid, composed, overflowing. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He ruled over millions, but his strength wasn't in his crown. It was in his calm. His private writings show a man who spent hours in self-examination, not to isolate from duty, but to return to it clean, prepared, and unwavering. That's your model. Leave the crowd to know yourself. Return to it so others can feel what knowing yourself does. Let your silence be your gravity. Let your calm be your signal. Let your inner work be the quiet roar that changes the tone of the entire room. So when people ask, "What changed?" you don't need to explain. Your energy speaks for you. Your presence speaks volumes. You've done the work. You've emptied the need. You've stopped arriving with questions like, "Do they like me?" And now you arrive with answers like, "I know who I am." That's what solitude gives you. Not an escape, but a forge. Not withdrawal, but refinement. Not distance, but depth. So say this to yourself: I leave the crowd to sharpen. I return not to be filled, but to overflow. I do not seek attention. I carry presence. I walk with silence, and it speaks louder than words. This is the final step of the Stoic path of solitude, not staying away, but coming back different, stronger, calmer, self-contained. Because the goal was never to hide. It was to return, not as a seeker, but as a source. And when you return like that, the world falls quiet, not out of fear, but out of respect. This is what they never teach you, how to be alone without falling apart. But now you know. Solitude isn't a sentence, it's a sanctuary. It's not where weakness is exposed, it's where strength is built. Every moment spent in silence, every time you chose stillness over noise, reflection over reaction, and presence over performance, you were forging something unshakable. You built your fortress. You refined your blade. You learned to stand without a crutch. You walked without applause, and you didn't flinch. That's not loneliness. That's mastery. Because once you learn to be alone, truly alone, you stop being ruled by fear. You stop needing the crowd. You stop waiting for permission to feel whole. And you start carrying a presence that speaks without words. You don't show up empty, needing to be filled. You show up full, overflowing, grounded. You bring stillness into the storm, and that stillness becomes your signature. So now ask yourself, not who will complete you, but what will you build within yourself now that you know how? If this spoke to something deep inside you, drop a comment below. I've stopped running from solitude. I've started building my strength. Let it be your commitment. Let it be your first brick in the fortress within. And have you ever felt like time is slipping away from you in the blink of an eye? But what if I told you it's not just time passing you by? What if some of your everyday routines, those habits you believe are harmless, are quietly chipping away at your youth and energy? Many of these so-called small habits are silently aging both your body and mind without your awareness. Yes, I'm referring to those overlooked details in your daily life that seem insignificant. You might think everything is under control, but in reality, they're gradually wearing you down. Stoic philosophy urges us to focus on what truly matters, to conserve our energy for the things that bring us inner peace. But let me ask you, are you really prioritizing the essentials in your life? Perhaps it's time to stop sabotaging yourself and uncover those habits that you need to let go of, starting today. Make sure you stick around until the end, because the final point might just shock you. But before we dive in, I want to share a story that reveals the deeper truth behind this message. There once was a man named Andrew who lived in a peaceful village. He was a diligent farmer, well respected for the quality of his crops and his unwavering work ethic. Yet, despite being a young man, Andrew looked aged beyond his years. His face bore lines of fatigue, and his body seemed burdened with a weight far too heavy for someone so young. One day, while tending to his fields, an old wise man passed by and said, You carry the years heavily on your shoulders, though your youth is still with you. What burden makes you look so worn? Andrew was taken aback and began to reflect on his daily habits. He realized that he rarely paused to rest, that he often skipped meals or ate hastily without real nourishment. He barely drank enough water, and he hardly slept. His nights were restless, filled with anxiety over his harvest. To fight off exhaustion, he relied heavily on caffeine and sugar. The old man listened and nodded thoughtfully. "Andrew," he said, "bad habits are like drops of water on a rock. They seem harmless, but over time they carve deep scars. Not sleeping well, neglecting your body, relying on stimulants that give quick energy but drain you in the long run, all these cause your body to age before its time." Curious and concerned, Andrew asked how he could change this. The old man responded, "Care for your body as you would your crops. Give it rest. Nourish it with what truly feeds it. Good habits, when cultivated, will restore your strength and bring vitality back into your life." From that day, Andrew made small but intentional changes. He began sleeping better, staying hydrated, and reducing his intake of stimulants. Gradually, people around him noticed the difference. His eyes sparkled again, his skin looked healthier, and his energy returned. He had learned a powerful truth. Those little habits we ignore can slowly drain the life from us, and if we're not mindful, we might wither without even noticing. Just as a plant needs consistent care to grow strong and vibrant, so too does our body need love, rest, and attention. The takeaway from Andrew's story is clear. What we perceive as minor, everyday routines might actually be silently exhausting us. If we truly want to preserve our well-being, we must first look at how we live. Before we explore the first lesson, if you find value in these insights, I encourage you to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay connected so you never miss new content that can help you improve your life. Let's begin by talking about one of the most common yet underestimated habits: not getting enough sleep. Have you ever stopped to wonder why coffee is almost universally accepted as the lifeblood of the modern workforce? It's because so many of us are functioning on less than the recommended 8 hours of sleep each night. We've glorified sleep deprivation, thinking it's a symbol of drive and ambition, an emblem of success. But here's the truth bomb. Skimping on sleep isn't just draining your energy, it's accelerating your aging process faster than a banana left out in the sun. Let me explain. When you sleep, your body enters repair mode. It's like a crew of miniature workers set to restore and upgrade everything that got worn down during the day. They patch up tissues, regenerate cells, and help you bounce back from stress. But if you cut that work shift short, don't be surprised when you wake up with new wrinkles, dark circles under your eyes, big enough to hide a kitten, and skin that looks like a deflated balloon. Sleep deprivation doesn't just make you feel groggy, it disrupts your circulation, leaving your cells undernourished. It's like throwing a party, but forgetting to invite enough guests. Everything feels off, and the results are chaotic. So how did we get here? Beyond the obvious love-hate relationship with your alarm clock, certain nighttime habits creep in like a silent cat. Binge-watching shows until sunrise, constantly checking your phone for the next meme, or guzzling caffeine like you're preparing for an apocalypse. All of these habits combine into a perfect storm, a recipe called How to Become a Premature Zombie. So how do you reverse this trajectory? The answer is refreshingly simple. Establish a routine. Your body craves consistency, so try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's about giving yourself the grace to rest. Create a sleep-friendly environment. Embrace the darkness, draw the curtains, turn off the lights. Use earplugs or an eye mask if needed. Your bedroom should be a sanctuary of calm, not a three-ring circus. And don't forget that bright screen glaring back at you. Put your phone away at least an hour before bed. Trust me, the world will survive a few hours without your social media updates. Instead, wind down with a good book or a short meditation. Stoic philosophy reminds us to seek calm amid the storm, so bring that wisdom into your nights. You'll soon feel the difference, and next time you feel smug about pulling another all-nighter, remember your body is filing a complaint. You're fast-tracking the aging process. Care for yourself, because in this one precious life, there is no reset button. And if all else fails, remember this. True wisdom isn't measured in hours worked, but in the quality of your rest. Honor your need for sleep, and your body will reward you. Now let's move on to something just as impactful: daily stress. Have you ever felt like a circus performer juggling too many things at once? Your job, your family, your responsibilities. That's what stress feels like in modern life. It's become as normal as the scent of coffee in the morning or late-night phone notifications. But here's what most people don't realize. Stress doesn't just weigh on your mind. It etches itself into your skin, aging you faster than you think. Let's talk about stress hormones: cortisol, epinephrine, and adrenaline. These are the emergency responders in your body designed to help you in times of crisis. But like those friends who mean well but overstay their welcome, they become toxic if they hang around too long. While they help regulate blood pressure and immune response, excessive cortisol also breaks down your skin's elasticity, leaving your face looking tired and worn, like you haven't slept in a week. But don't worry, I'm not here to scare you. Daily stress doesn't just stem from big dramatic events. Often it's found in those subtle choices we make. Skipping your workout because the couch looks too inviting, eating a tub of ice cream every time something goes wrong. These are the sneaky habits that add up over time and take a toll on your body and mind. So, what's the antidote? You don't have to move to a mountaintop or live like a monk. The solution is simpler than you think: meditation. Yes, that practice we often associate with monks in robes or spiritual gurus. But in reality, meditation and mindfulness are completely accessible, and they don't require much time, money, or effort. Just a few minutes a day. Imagine yourself sitting quietly in a peaceful corner of your home. It's like having a small oasis right in the middle of the daily chaos. As you slowly breathe in, imagine calmness flowing into you, and with every exhale, picture the stress leaving your body. There are simple exercises you can do right there at home, like focusing on your breathing or visualizing a peaceful place that brings you a sense of serenity. These practices not only help reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, but they also provide a clearer, more composed perspective on whatever problems you're facing. Who knows, maybe in that moment of clarity, you'll realize that ice cream isn't always the answer, and that a peaceful walk in the park might do more for your soul. And speaking of renewal, let's not forget what the Stoics taught us about dealing with life's challenges. Face adversity with calm and strength. Instead of letting stress sweep you away like a storm, try adopting a Stoic mindset. Accept that life will inevitably throw obstacles in your path, but also remind yourself, You already have the tools to handle them. Stress might be a powerful adversary, but it doesn't have to win. By managing your exposure to stressful situations and incorporating practices like meditation, you won't just lower your cortisol levels, you'll gain clarity, focus, and emotional balance. Always remember, life is like a game of chess. Sometimes, the smartest move is simply to pause, take a breath, and think carefully about what comes next. And when stress starts knocking on your door again, breathe deeply and remember the wise words of Epictetus. Calm is the refuge of the wise. Now let's talk about something more visible: smoking. Have you ever stopped to consider what tobacco really does to your skin? If you think it's just a small indulgence, allow me to be your voice of reason, or if you prefer, the voice of smoke. Smoking isn't just a habit that stains your teeth and leaves a lingering smell on your breath. It's a stealthy thief that slowly robs your skin of its youth. Tobacco is one of those enemies that sneaks up on you, and before you know it, the damage is already done. But let's break this down in a more honest and reflective way, maybe even with a pinch of sarcasm. Think of smoking like inviting a group of Stoic philosophers to your birthday party, only to watch them walk off with all your gifts. What do the Stoics have to do with this, you ask? Well, imagine those ancient thinkers were the guardians of your skin. They valued reason and living in harmony with nature. So how does inhaling toxic smoke fit into that idea of natural living? Tobacco deprives your skin of oxygen and essential nutrients that it needs to glow. Worse yet, it triggers mischievous enzymes that chip away at your skin's elasticity. It's as if your skin is quietly crying out, "Where's my collagen?" But it doesn't stop there. The toxins in cigarette smoke disrupt the oxygenation process at a cellular level. Picture your skin constantly fighting for air, like trying to run a marathon with a plastic bag over your head. A lack of oxygen severely affects your skin's ability to regenerate, leaving you looking more tired and aged. So, if you're among those who think those little indulgences don't have a long-term impact on your appearance, think again. Each puff is like a thief, silently creeping into your home, stealing your youth and leaving behind wrinkles and dullness. Some party, huh? So what's the way out? Beyond considering a complete lifestyle change, quitting smoking is definitely a great place to start. But there are also additional strategies you can adopt. First, think about the importance of hydration. Your skin is like a plant. If you don't water it, it withers. So why not flood your life with water and ditch the harmful smoke? Embracing healthy lifestyle habits is crucial too. Fill your diet with fresh fruits and vegetables rich in antioxidants. They're like little warriors fighting off the invisible enemies left behind by smoking. And don't forget about exercise. Not only does it boost your circulation, but it's also an excellent way to reduce stress. At the end of the day, the choice is entirely yours. You can live in denial, convincing yourself that smoking doesn't really affect your looks, or you can reclaim your power and start caring for your skin with intention. Just like the Stoics, who believed in reason and self-discipline, you too can shape your destiny. Sure, life is full of fleeting pleasures, but your skin will thank you in the long run if you choose the path of wellness. As Brian Tracy wisely said, youth may be a gift from nature, but aging gracefully is a true work of art. Speaking of things that age us, let's talk about water, or rather, the lack of it. When was the last time you looked in the mirror? If it's been a while, you might be in for a surprise that looks like something straight out of a horror flick. Yes, Your skin might not be the vibrant, glowing masterpiece it once was. And why? Because you're probably not drinking enough water. Come on, let's be honest. Drinking a couple of liters of water a day isn't exactly climbing Everest. But somehow, in the hustle of modern life, it often feels like we don't even have time to fill a glass. And yet, hydration is about so much more than just quenching thirst. Think of your skin again as a plant. Water it well, and it blooms. Let it dry out, and it withers. When you neglect water, your skin becomes dull and rough. You're not just hurting your appearance, you're also building up toxins like a walking, talking landfill. According to experts, men should aim for around 2.5 liters of water a day. That's about 11 cups, like you're preparing for some hydration championship. Women need about 2 liters, or roughly 8 cups, to maintain balance. But let's be real. Most of us don't even come close to those numbers. Life gets in the way. Work, social media, the endless streaming of your favorite series, all these distractions leave us wandering through life dehydrated like a human desert. Fixing this isn't as hard as it sounds. Make hydration a habit. Carry a water bottle with you everywhere and think of it as your most loyal companion, always whispering, "Hey, don't forget about me." Tie your water intake to specific parts of your day. Drink a glass every time you sit down to work or after you complete a task. This way, hydration becomes a part of your rhythm, not just something you remember when your throat gets dry. If plain water feels dull, spice it up with a few slices of lemon, cucumber, or mint. Suddenly, your boring drink turns into something worthy of a high-end spa right in your kitchen. And yes, this is where Stoic philosophy makes another entrance. It may sound odd to bring up ancient thinkers in a conversation about water, but hear me out. The Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. If you can't change the dullness in your skin overnight, you can at least make the conscious choice to drink more water today. It's a small step, but one that carries great impact. In the end, ignoring hydration may seem harmless, but it's one of those tiny habits that lead you directly down the path of premature aging. If you care about your skin and your health overall, drinking enough water should be non-negotiable. Think of your body as a sacred space. Like any temple, it requires regular care. Let me leave you with a little reflection. Life, my friend, is like water. If you don't care for it, it vanishes before you even realize it's gone. And now, let's dive into another sneaky culprit: caffeine. That magical potion we cling to in the morning as if it were divine nectar, turning us from grumpy zombies into functioning humans. But have you ever really asked yourself if caffeine is your loyal ally or your secret saboteur? Let's face it, what starts as a harmless ritual can quickly spiral into a jittery dependence that leaves you wired, anxious, and crashing by midday. If you've ever questioned whether caffeine is lifting you up or dragging you down, this one's for you. Think of yourself as a high-performance sports car speeding down the highway. Coffee might be the fuel that powers you, but pour in too much and you're bound to crash. Stoicism teaches us the importance of moderation and self-control, and nowhere is that more relevant than in our daily caffeine habits. In moderate doses, caffeine isn't the enemy. It has antioxidants, and a couple of cups a day can even improve your concentration. But everything has a limit. Experts suggest sticking to no more than 2 caffeinated drinks per day. And if you're a fan of coffee, organic green tea, or black tea, you're in luck. Those are among the healthiest choices. But what happens if you ignore those guidelines? That's when the chaos kicks in. Caffeine overstimulates your nervous system like a hamster sprinting endlessly on a wheel. Your heart races, your mind becomes restless, and suddenly anxiety crashes the party like an unwanted guest. But don't worry, this isn't the end of your story. There are ways to escape the trap, and they begin with awareness, balance, and making wiser, more intentional choices. First, set a firm boundary. 2 cups, no more. Think of it as if you were a Stoic, someone who chooses to forego temporary indulgence in favor of long-term well-being. If it feels like coffee has become your constant companion, it might be time for a serious self-reflection. Also, remember the golden 6-hour rule. Avoid consuming caffeine within 6 hours of your bedtime. It's a simple yet powerful guideline. Often, what your body really craves isn't another cup of coffee, but a refreshing walk outside, a quiet moment with a good book, or even a few minutes of meditation. These practices can help restore your calm and ease the anxiety that caffeine can sometimes bring. And if you find yourself caught in the endless loop of caffeine dependence, consider replacing some of your drinks with caffeine-free alternatives. Initially, you may feel like you're parting ways with a trusted old friend. But just like the old saying reminds us, sometimes letting go is the only way to move forward. Caffeine can be your ally or your downfall, depending on how wisely you choose to use it. Learning to consume it in moderation will allow you to enjoy its advantages without suffering the consequences. As the Stoics taught, balance is essential. So next time you're tempted to dive into a coffee binge, pause and consider your future self. Ask yourself if it's really worth the price. As Marcus Aurelius once noted, true strength lies not in what you take in, but in what you choose to leave out. Now let's talk about something equally vital: neglecting physical exercise. Have you noticed how the couch has become your best buddy? That warm, comfy space where you lounge for hours, binging shows or scrolling endlessly online. At best, maybe you're mentally planning your dream life while munching on a bag of chips. Ah, the sweet trap of a sedentary lifestyle. That silent thief of youth that whispers, just a bit longer, even though deep down you know better. Let's be honest, it does cause harm. But here's the good news. Just 45 minutes of daily movement can be your ticket to feeling young again, or at least becoming a healthier version of yourself. Think of your body like a vintage car, the kind people admire at classic shows. If you leave it sitting too long, the paint fades, the engine rusts, and before you know it, you're spending a fortune trying to fix it. Your muscles, bones, and joints work the same way. If they're not in motion, the aging process accelerates faster than you might expect. A sedentary lifestyle speeds up premature aging, and before long you'll be closer to grandparent status than your best self. Health experts recommend at least 45 minutes of physical activity each day. But before you roll your eyes and imagine yourself drowning in sweat at the gym, let me stop you. There's no need to become a fitness fanatic to meet this goal. The secret lies in discovering an activity you genuinely enjoy. It could be lifting weights, like those action movie heroes, or dancing around your living room, or simply taking a walk while listening to your favorite podcast. Every bit counts. Resistance training, in particular, is one of the best ways to fight aging. And no, you don't have to aim for a bodybuilder physique. Just a pair of dumbbells or using your body weight can lead to noticeable improvements. The goal is to challenge your body, not torture it. Stoic teachings remind us that control and discipline are the cornerstones of a fulfilling life. So why not apply that philosophy to your daily routine? Find an exercise you truly like, and that 45-minute window will become a cherished part of your day, a little retreat for your well-being. Still not convinced? Consider the alternative. A sedentary lifestyle doesn't just shorten your life, it increases your risk for heart disease. Think of your heart like the engine of that classic car. If you neglect it, it may fail when you need it most. Just a few minutes of movement each day can create a world of difference. So the next time you're tempted to keep streaming episode after episode, remember, your body needs love too, and movement is its favorite language. Less than 45 minutes a day doesn't sound so bad now, does it? Think of it as a daily act of self-love. Get up, stretch, and give your body what it deserves. Because doing nothing is the fastest way to grow old without ever truly living. Engrave this in your mind. Caring for your body is the first real step toward a life well lived. If you don't take charge, someone else might, but not in the way you'd want. Now let's dive into another sweet topic, quite literally, the overuse of sugar. Have you ever paused to really think about what sugar represents? Sure, it charms your taste buds, often feels like a trusted friend, and makes everything more delicious. But over time, it morphs into that one-party guest who just won't leave. Life's too precious to let a few sweets mess up your skin, your health, and most importantly, your future self. Sugar, that innocent-looking white powder we all adore, has earned its bad reputation for good reason. Did you know excessive sugar can lead to inflammation and acne? That's no urban legend. Those random breakouts might just be the lingering effects of that impulsive donut you inhaled earlier. And it doesn't stop at your skin. Sugar is a master of disguise. It clings to the proteins collagen and elastin through a process known as glycation. The result? Your skin becomes less elastic, and yes, that means wrinkles. Happy early birthday. But if you think that's the worst of it, think again. Sugar is one of the primary culprits behind high cholesterol and cardiovascular disease. If you thought cholesterol was just medical jargon doctors toss around to scare you, it's time for a reality check. Excess sugar doesn't just mess with your appearance, it endangers your heart, that tireless muscle responsible for pumping both blood and emotions throughout your body. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to guilt-trip you over every slice of cake you've enjoyed over the years. Instead, let's focus on practical steps. Cutting back on sugar in your coffee or soft drinks is a great start. But beware, sugar is sneaky. It lurks in countless processed foods, from sauces to snacks, hiding behind names like sucrose, fructose, and syrup. It's like a culinary ninja, quietly plotting your downfall. So, what can you do? First, become a food detective. Start reading labels and learn where sugar is hiding in plain sight. Take stock of your pantry and say goodbye to products that bring nothing but an overdose of sweetness. Try switching to natural alternatives like stevia or coconut sugar. Your skin and your heart will thank you. Embrace the wisdom of the Stoics and ask yourself what you truly need versus what's just a passing craving. Moderation is the secret weapon. The next time you find yourself longing for dessert, pause and remember, your health, your skin, and your future are all quietly watching. Don't let a fleeting pleasure grow into a damaging habit. Make moderation your superpower and become the hero of your own journey. After all, Life is too precious to let sugar speed up your aging process. Every bite you take is a choice. Choose the path of wisdom, resilience, and well-being. Now let's talk about something often overlooked, but incredibly powerful: not smiling enough. Have you noticed those days when your smile feels like it's on a silent retreat, having vanished without a trace or explanation? That's not just a mood thing. It could be silently taking a toll on your physical well-being. You heard that right. Your emotional state does more than determine whether you're the life of the party or the quiet one sipping in the corner. It shapes your blood flow, your stress levels, and even how quickly time begins to reflect on your face. Think aging is just a natural process. Think again. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers whose wisdom still resonates in our age of selfies and fast food, understood the value of keeping a tranquil mind amid life's storms. They knew life could feel like a fast-moving river, filled with sharp rocks and cold waters. But rather than complain, they believed in building a small boat to float with resilience. Laughter, dear friend, is that boat's engine. It doesn't just feel good, it's scientifically proven to help. And yes, even science agrees, when it comes to smiling, there's more than meets the eye. The role of blood vessels goes beyond simply circulating blood. They also help in reducing stress and, in the best scenarios, even contribute to keeping you a bit younger. And the best part? You don't need miracle creams to make it happen. Let's face it, we often get trapped in what I call the cycle of seriousness, where every challenge feels like a chaotic storm of negative emotions dragging us into a pit of demotivation. In that state, we forget the simple joy of laughing at ourselves, at life's ridiculous moments, and yes, even at our own flaws. Life is packed with absurd events that, when viewed through the right lens, are comedy-worthy. So, how can we start stepping away from this heavy spiral of seriousness? There are some simple but powerful ways to begin. First, consider surrounding yourself with people who laugh easily, those friends who seem to find happiness in the most unexpected corners of life. A casual coffee meetup, watching a good comedy, or enjoying a board game can be a surprisingly effective antidote to gloominess. You can also try something called a laughter journal. Yes, it might sound a bit silly at first, but give it a shot. Every evening, jot down 3 things that made you smile or laugh during the day. You'll be amazed at how many small, joyful moments you've been overlooking. Over time, your brain will get into the habit of noticing these sparks of happiness, and laughter will begin to feel more natural, like a reflex rather than an effort. And don't underestimate the quiet power of meditation. Stoic philosophy teaches us to observe our emotions and thoughts without judgment, like clouds drifting by. By practicing meditation, you can clear the mental fog and rediscover those small rays of light that often get buried under stress. So, take a moment, inhale deeply, and let yourself smile. Let life flow, a little more lightly this time. To sum it up, taking life less seriously and smiling more isn't just something your grandmother would suggest. It's a real survival tactic in a world that often feels too heavy. The next time laughter feels far away, remind yourself that every smile is a small but powerful act of defiance against premature aging. Laughter, in case it hasn't been said enough, is truly medicine, one without side effects, but filled with undeniable benefits. Now, speaking of things that sabotage your vitality, let's talk about drastic diets. In this era of instant gratification, many people chase weight loss like it's a competitive sport, diving into the most extreme diets they can find. You know the type, the ones that promise miraculous results in record time, treating your body like a fixer-upper project that can be reshaped on demand. But what happens when these extreme restrictions start pushing you to your limits? That's when it's time to pause and ask yourself what self-care really means. Perhaps it's time to give a nod to the Stoics, who knew the value of balance and moderation. Picture this. You commit to such an intense diet that even the most hardened Stoic warriors would raise an eyebrow. Fasting on and off, swearing off entire food groups, treating nutrients like forbidden relics. Sounds like a heroic health plan, right? Meanwhile, your mind is fantasizing about becoming the next social media transformation star, but your body is quietly screaming for help. The truth is, extreme dieting sends your system into panic mode, and not the kind that's amusing when you see dramatic before and after photos. It's the kind that can fast-forward your biological clock, leaving you looking older than you feel. Let's break it down. When you lose weight too quickly, your skin often doesn't have time to catch up. The elasticity that once gave your skin a firm, youthful look begins to fade, and what's left can resemble a balloon that's lost its air, wrinkled and saggy. Imagine that. You want to look amazing for a party, but you end up looking like you've been wandering in a desert for a decade. So what's the solution? The Stoics would remind us, moderation and self-care are key. Instead of falling into the trap of fad diets, embrace a more mindful approach. Picture this, not eliminating entire food groups, but adopting a conscious way of eating where you actually listen to your body and nourish it with what it needs. That could mean savoring a piece of rich chocolate while also enjoying a salad bursting with fresh, nutritious ingredients. It's about striking that sweet balance, a graceful dance between what you crave and what truly sustains you. A great way to start is by keeping a food journal, not just logging what you eat, but also how each meal makes you feel. You might be surprised to learn how much your mood and energy are affected by the choices on your plate. With time, you'll begin making more informed, thoughtful decisions, steering clear of the kind of craziness that only leads to more chaos. The next time you feel tempted by promises of quick-fix weight loss, remember, your body isn't some factory you can push into overdrive. It's a temple, one that deserves respect, patience, and love. As the Stoics might put it, moderation is essential for a well-lived life. Forget the extreme diets that leave you drained and depleted. What really matters is how you feel in your own skin, not the number on the scale. Don't fall for the illusion of instant results. True well-being is built gradually with care and intention, not with punishing food rules or trends that fade with the season. Speaking of taking care of yourself, let's talk about something people often ignore: sunscreen. Have you ever noticed how most people only think about using sunscreen when they're about to roast on the beach? But the reality is, the sun never takes a day off. Even when you're sitting in the shade, sipping coffee, UV rays are still sneaking through, like that uninvited guest who always finds a way into the party. So do yourself a favor. Start using sunscreen every single day. Think of it as life insurance for your skin, without the monthly payments or the fine print. Here's the deal. Solar radiation isn't just a summer problem. It's a daily threat. And from a Stoic point of view, you could think of the sun as one of life's unavoidable hardships. But while Stoicism teaches us to accept what we can't control, it also teaches us to take action where we can. Using sunscreen, at least SPF 30, is a smart, proactive move. Even on cloudy days, you're building a shield against early aging. It's like carrying an umbrella when the sky looks uncertain. It might not rain, but if it does, you're ready. Consider sunscreen your daily armor, The Stoics believed virtue was essential for a fulfilling life, so why not apply that same wisdom to caring for your skin? Making sunscreen a part of your morning routine isn't just a beauty tip, it's an investment in your future. If you skip it, you may find your skin aging faster than that of your friends who somehow seem to have found the fountain of youth. Do you really want to be the one everyone stares at with quiet pity at the next reunion? Putting on sunscreen shouldn't be an afterthought. It's a daily ritual, like brushing your teeth. And remember, reapplication matters. Sunscreen wears off, especially when you're at the beach, working out, or sweating under the summer sun. Reapply every 2 hours if you want real protection. Not all sunscreens are created equal either. Choose one that feels good on your skin, something that won't leave you greasier than a cheeseburger. There are lightweight formulas now, even ones with a touch of color that enhance your look while protecting your skin. And please, share the knowledge. Talk to your family and friends about the importance of daily sunscreen. You might just save someone from future regret or wrinkles. Don't be that person who only reaches for sunscreen when they're headed to the beach. That's like saying no to veggies because fries taste better. Your skin deserves more than that. Be the hero in your own story. Start protecting your skin now, before it's too late. Remember, life is full of choices, and this is one of the smarter ones. As any Hollywood icon would say, your skin is your first outfit, so protect it and do it with flair. Now, let's touch on another silent mistake that many people make: not going to their medical checkups. Remember that little thrill of rebellion you felt the last time you skipped a doctor's appointment? As if avoiding it somehow gave you control over the system. As if not showing up for that routine visit made you free from all the medical jargon, the cryptic lab reports, and the eternally cheerful nurse who always smiles like she's in a competition. But here's the truth. That so-called freedom might actually be a gilded cage. It feels nice for a while, but it's still a trap. At the end of the day, medical checkups isn't just another tedious task to cross off your list. It's often a life-saving act that far too many people overlook. According to recent university research conducted this very year, routine checkups can help detect illnesses or health issues in up to 90% of individuals. Yes, 90%. If that statistic doesn't give you a strong reason to pick up the phone and schedule a doctor's appointment, it might be time to reassess your sense of logic. So, how often should you actually be seeing your doctor for a routine exam? The answer is as straightforward as picking something off a restaurant menu. Up to the age of 40, you're generally advised to get a checkup every 4 years. Between the ages of 40 and 60, things become a bit more serious, and a visit every 2 years is recommended. Once you cross the age of 60, regular yearly visits should become part of your normal routine, making you something of a familiar face in the waiting room. Here's something even more surprising. Many health insurance plans actually include free annual checkups. So if you're in the market for a new insurance provider, make sure those health screenings are part of the package. We live in a fast-paced world where time slips through our fingers and days turn into weeks before we even realize it. Amidst all that, taking a moment to care for your health might be the best and most meaningful gift you can give to yourself. Let's talk about the small, often unnoticed habits that are silently speeding up your aging process faster than a banana left out in the sun. Modern life bombards us with temptations: fast food, non-stop stress, sleepless nights, and that late-night Netflix binge that feels like it'll never end. Every time you skip a routine medical exam, it's like giving a free meal to the beast called negligence. The truth is, some of the most harmful habits are the ones that creep in so subtly you hardly notice them. Smoking just one cigarette, skipping breakfast here and there, or reaching for snacks instead of meals. Then one day, you find yourself Googling mysterious symptoms, and spoiler alert, that rabbit hole never ends well. But don't worry, all is not lost. There are ways to shift direction, to start reclaiming control. Begin by adding small yet powerful habits into your daily rhythm. Maybe it's going for a 30-minute walk, enjoying a nutritious breakfast, or taking 5 minutes to simply breathe and meditate. Over time, these minor shifts can lead to major improvements in your physical health and mental clarity. They also train you to listen more closely to what your body is telling you, so that when it's time for your next checkup, you'll approach it with confidence, not dread or guilt. Life doesn't hit the pause button, and neither should you. Ignoring your checkups is like hoping it won't rain just because you don't want to get wet. But storms will come whether we like it or not. Don't let the daily grind dull your awareness. Take care of yourself the same way you so attentively care for your online presence. Health isn't just about not being sick. It's a full-spectrum sense of wellness, and sometimes the best way to measure it is through those regular appointments with your doctor. So, next time you're tempted to skip that follow-up or ignore that reminder call, remember what the Stoics taught us. True wisdom lies in foreseeing what may come and preparing for it in advance. Nelson Mandela once said that health is the first step toward achieving success, and he couldn't have been more right. So don't neglect that essential part of your journey. Make sure to check in on your health from time to time. If you've made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment that says, "Health is the most precious asset." I'd love to hear your positive stories and how staying on top of your health has changed your life. Welcome to this new video, where we dive deep into an ancient philosophy brimming with timeless wisdom, one that can help you rise above life's challenges and discover lasting inner peace. Today, we're uncovering 9 Stoic principles that have the power to help you think clearly, act wisely, and ultimately outsmart the chaos around you. In a world overwhelmed by constant stress and pressure, how can you stay grounded, focused, and strong? These Stoic keys will serve as your compass. Stick with us to the very end, because each principle we share is an essential piece in unlocking a life of serenity, resilience, and purpose. And if this video resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit that like button, and drop a comment saying, "Keep it up." Now, let's dive in. Let's begin with our first insight. Don't talk about your challenges. This is the Stoic pathway to turning struggles into stepping stones. Greetings, fellow Stoic seekers. Today, we're reflecting on a powerful Stoic mindset that can shift the way you navigate difficulties in life. The principle is simple but profound. Don't talk about your challenges. At first glance, you might think, but isn't it good to vent sometimes? Don't I need to express my emotions to heal? And while there's value in healthy expression, the Stoics offer another perspective, one that revolves around resilience, self-mastery, and focusing on what's within our control. To the Stoics, challenges were inevitable. Life would always present trials, whether it's minor irritations or life-altering hardships. What truly mattered, they taught, was how we responded. Rather than fixating on our problems or giving them more power through constant talk, we are better served by responding with calm resolve and purposeful action. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every obstacle can become a stepping stone, if we choose to see it that way. This leads us to the idea of strength in silence. What does this look like in real life? It means resisting the urge to dwell on or constantly verbalize our problems. Instead, we focus on the solutions. We build inner fortitude. Think of a challenging work project. Talking about how hard it is won't make it any easier. It might even increase your sense of overwhelm. But if you quietly break it down into smaller, manageable steps, set clear goals, and move forward with steady action, you not only make real progress, but also build grit and confidence along the way. Perspective, another Stoic pillar, also plays a vital role. When we're immersed in difficulty, it's easy to lose our sense of proportion. But if we pause and take a step back, often we can reframe our situation or recognize that things aren't as dire as they seem. Stuck in traffic and feeling tense? Instead of complaining, try using that time to listen to something uplifting. Practice a few moments of mindfulness, or simply enjoy a moment of stillness. You might arrive at your destination feeling more grounded and centered, even if the journey wasn't ideal. So here's your Stoic challenge. The next time you face adversity, try a different path. Resist the instinct to vent or complain. Breathe deeply. Focus on your sphere of control and take decisive action. Cultivate that quiet strength that speaks louder than words. True power isn't found in the absence of struggle. It's found in your ability to meet that struggle with courage, self-command, and unwavering composure. Embrace this mindset, and not only will you face challenges more effectively, but you'll also deepen your sense of peace and resilience from within. Now, let's explore our second lesson. Don't reveal your secrets. This is the Stoic art of discretion. Welcome back, fellow seekers of wisdom. In this next powerful Stoic teaching, we explore a concept that can help you move through life with greater grace and clarity. The value of keeping your secrets. But let's clarify, this isn't about becoming cold or isolated, nor does it mean avoiding vulnerability altogether. Rather, it's about understanding the power of selective sharing and the wisdom that comes from protecting your inner world. The Stoics regarded our inner life, our thoughts, dreams, fears, and intentions as sacred. They understood that revealing these deeply personal elements to the wrong people could leave us vulnerable and even harmed. The philosopher Seneca once said, "If you want to keep a secret, keep it to yourself." He understood the harsh truth that not everyone will honor your truth with kindness or respect, and often the most painful wounds are inflicted by those closest to us. Think of your secrets as a precious gem, something beautiful and rare that deserves careful guardianship. By protecting what's most intimate to you, you build an inner sanctuary, a safe place within where you can think, feel, and be without fear of judgment or betrayal. This doesn't mean closing yourself off completely, but it does mean being intentional about who you trust with your most vulnerable thoughts. It's about fostering relationships built on true trust and mutual respect. There's also a deeper discipline at play here: the development of self-control. In a culture that rewards oversharing and instant exposure, learning to hold things back, to stay quiet until the right moment, is a profound strength. Imagine you're working on a personal project that excites you. Sharing your idea too soon might invite premature criticism, jealousy, or distractions. But by keeping your plans close until they're ready to be revealed, you preserve your clarity, energy, and creative momentum. So here's your Stoic challenge. Practice the art of discretion. Be thoughtful about what you share, when you share it, and with whom. Protect your inner landscape. Exercise your ability to wait, to hold, and to decide wisely. This isn't about being secretive. It's about honoring your own boundaries, valuing your own emotional space, and knowing who's truly earned the right to hear your heart. Master this, and you'll not only protect yourself from needless harm, you'll also gain a powerful sense of self-trust, peace, and personal sovereignty. Let's move forward to Lesson 3. Don't talk about your achievements. Embrace the quiet power of humility. Greetings once again, seekers of Stoic strength. This time, we're talking about success, specifically the importance of not boasting about it. Now you might wonder, shouldn't I celebrate my wins and share my joy with others? Of course, acknowledging your progress and feeling proud of your efforts is important, but the Stoic approach to achievement teaches us a more profound path, one of humility, internal satisfaction, and authentic character. The Stoics taught that real success doesn't come from accolades or recognition. It arises from within. They warned that openly bragging about your wins can lead to inflated ego, complacency, and sometimes envy or backlash from others. Epictetus wisely advised, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, let your life be the message. Let your consistency, effort, and service speak louder than any claim you could make. Picture a gardener who spent years nurturing a vibrant landscape. The beauty of the flowers, the richness of the soil, the harmony of the ecosystem. These speak volumes about the gardener's patience and skill. They don't need to shout their success. Their work tells the story. Similarly, when you dedicate yourself to growth and purpose, others will naturally take notice, even if you never say a word. In our modern world, especially with social media, it's tempting to showcase every milestone and crave the approval of others. But the Stoics would remind us that this pursuit of external validation is fleeting and fragile. True confidence comes from knowing your worth, regardless of who's watching. When you turn your focus inward, on learning, evolving, and doing your best, you'll develop a sense of fulfillment that no amount of likes or comments can provide. Here's your Stoic challenge. The next time you accomplish something meaningful, resist the urge to announce it for validation. Instead, pause. Reflect on the effort it took. Appreciate your journey, and then quietly move forward, ready to keep building, keep growing. Let your success be the result of your actions, not your announcements. In doing so, you'll cultivate humility, authenticity, and a lasting sense of pride that doesn't rely on applause. By living this way, without constantly talking about your struggles, your secrets, or your achievements, you embody the quiet, grounded strength of a true Stoic. And that, my friends, is a strength the world cannot shake. Take a moment to genuinely appreciate the effort you've invested and recognize how far you've come. Then, with quiet confidence, move forward to embrace your next challenge. Let your actions be the clearest and most powerful message you send. Always remember, real success isn't measured by applause or recognition. It lies in living a life rooted in purpose, honesty, and a constant desire to grow. When you embrace the Stoic value of humility, You don't just find deeper fulfillment, you also become a source of inspiration for others through your quiet resilience and steadfast commitment. Lesson 4. The strength in strategic silence. Why your next move should stay a mystery. Hey there, fellow Stoic in the making. Today, we're stepping into the world of strategy, patience, and the power of subtlety. We're exploring the Stoic idea of keeping your next move to yourself. Think of it like being a grandmaster in chess. You're making calculated moves without revealing your hand, while others are left guessing what you'll do next. Now, you might be wondering, but shouldn't I talk about my plans and dreams with people? Won't that help me stay on track and gather support? That's a valid thought. And yes, there are moments when sharing can be useful, but the Stoics emphasize that sometimes silence is the most powerful move. Keeping your plans close protects them and you. The Stoic view on planning for the future. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves to concentrate only on what they could control and to let go of what they couldn't. They recognized the unpredictable nature of the future and the potential pitfalls of speaking too soon about one's ambitions. Epictetus offered timeless advice when he said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Their philosophy leaned heavily on action rather than empty promises. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, just go out and do it. Why holding back can be powerful. There are solid reasons why the Stoics recommended keeping your future moves private. One reason is it helps you stay focused. When you tell others what you're planning, their reactions, whether supportive, doubtful, or overly inquisitive, can throw you off balance and shift your focus. By keeping your intentions private, you stay sharply aligned with your purpose. Another reason is to avoid what's known as premature gratification. Talking about your goals can sometimes trick your mind into feeling like you've already accomplished something. This false sense of achievement can lead to complacency and reduced drive. Staying quiet helps you remain hungry for real progress. And then there's the value of developing independence. Relying too much on others' encouragement or approval can stall your growth. By keeping your dreams to yourself, you strengthen your ability to trust your instincts, make decisions confidently, and take full responsibility for your journey. Living the lesson. Silence in action. Let's bring this concept into everyday life. Imagine you're building a side business you hope to one day turn into your main source of income. If you start talking about it too soon, even well-meaning people might offer discouraging opinions or express envy. Keeping your project low-key allows you to build without distractions and stay rooted in your vision. Or say you're preparing for a marathon. Telling everyone might create pressure to meet expectations even when you're not quite ready. But if you quietly train, focusing on your personal progress, you avoid unnecessary stress and remain centered on your goal. The Stoic challenge: use silence as strategy. Here's your challenge. Next time you feel tempted to share your dreams or plans, pause. Consider the Stoic approach. Ask yourself, will speaking about this help me move forward, or will it just invite distraction? Will sharing this empower me, or make me dependent on outside validation? Choosing silence doesn't mean being secretive or dishonest. It means being wise, intentional, and grounded. It's about giving your goals space to grow, away from noise and judgment. If you're gaining something from this message, be sure to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and drop "keep it up" in the comments. Lesson 5. Refrain from gossip, the Stoic way to a drama-free life. All right, Stoic squad, let's explore a lesson that calls for dignity and emotional discipline. Avoid talking about other people. In our world where gossip floods social media and headlines, it can seem like it's just part of everyday life. But the Stoics teach a different way. They believed real wisdom and peace come not from scrutinizing others, but from refining our own character and choices. The Stoic perspective on gossip. The Stoic path urges us to spend our energy on personal growth and contributing meaningfully to the world. Gossip doesn't build, it destroys. It spreads falsehoods, tarnishes reputations, and fosters division. As the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius put it, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. Stoics focused on living with honor, not on pointing out others' flaws. Focus inward instead of outward. Think about it. Every moment you spend speaking about someone else's behavior is a moment you're not using to improve your own life. It's like getting caught up in someone else's drama instead of living your own extraordinary story. Redirect that attention inward. Work on your thoughts, your habits, your purpose. By doing that, you become a source of light rather than a spreader of shadows. Creating a better atmosphere around you. The Stoics also knew that our words and actions ripple outward. When we choose not to participate in gossip, we contribute to a more supportive and respectful environment. Picture a workplace or community where everyone is focused on their own goals and building each other up instead of tearing each other down. That kind of space breeds growth, joy, and productivity. The Stoic challenge: be above the drama. Next time you're tempted to join in on gossip or negative talk, pause, step back, choose the higher path, commit to your own evolution, practice empathy, be someone who elevates rather than criticizes. True strength doesn't come from dragging others down. It comes from rising above and showing the way. When you focus on your own journey and resist the pull of negativity, you not only cultivate peace for yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. Lesson 6. Keep your good deeds quiet. The humble power of silent kindness. Hey there, Stoic seekers. Let's unpack a powerful idea for today. Resist the urge to talk about your good deeds. You might be thinking, but if I share my good actions, can't that encourage others? Or, isn't it okay to feel proud when I help someone? And yes, there's merit in those thoughts. But the Stoics offer a deeper lens, one that values humility, inner drive, and authentic virtue. What the Stoics teach about doing good. The Stoics believed that true virtue means doing the right thing simply because it's right, not for praise or recognition. They warned that bragging about good actions can turn into arrogance and diminish the value of the deed itself. Seneca captured this perfectly when he said, "The reward for a good deed is to have done it." The very act of doing good is its own reward. You don't need a pat on the back to validate it. The quiet beauty of kindness without words. Think of a serene stream winding through a forest, silently nourishing every living thing it touches. It doesn't announce its presence, yet its gentle current sustains life all around it. That's the spirit of unspoken kindness. When you act out of compassion without expecting recognition, your actions speak louder than any declaration ever could. People will see the goodness in you, not because you told them, but because they felt it. Beware the trap of chasing applause. In today's digital age, it's so easy to seek validation. We post about our generosity, our volunteer work, or our moments of kindness, hoping for likes and approval. But the Stoics remind us that virtue should be rooted in internal values, not external praise. When you focus on doing good purely for its own sake, you develop a deeper sense of compassion and humility. The reward becomes the act itself, not the attention it brings. The Stoic challenge: let your goodness speak through actions. Here's your challenge. The next time you do something meaningful for someone, resist the urge to tell the world. Instead, cherish that quiet joy that comes from knowing you made a difference. Let your actions become your message, your unspoken offering to a better world. Remember, real virtue doesn't seek the spotlight. It thrives in silence, integrity, and heartfelt service. When you embrace this Stoic view of humility, you don't just touch lives, you also discover a deeper, richer sense of inner peace and purpose. Lesson 7. The Stoic Shield. Guarding your weaknesses, building inner strength. Greetings, Stoic warriors. Lesson 7 explores a powerful principle in the pursuit of self-preservation and personal growth: the importance of not revealing your weaknesses. While modern society often encourages openness and emotional vulnerability, the Stoics offer a contrasting perspective rooted in strategic silence, deep self-awareness, and inner resilience. They understood that while recognizing our flaws is essential for growth, openly disclosing our vulnerabilities can make us targets for manipulation or unintended harm. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said that a person who reveals their weaknesses is like a city without defensive walls, unprotected and exposed. To understand this better, it's helpful to distinguish between flaws and weaknesses. Flaws are imperfections in our character, mistakes, bad habits, or tendencies that we can acknowledge and improve upon. Identifying our flaws is vital for self-betterment. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are the tender spots in our psyche, our emotional triggers and vulnerabilities. These are the areas others might exploit, whether knowingly or not, leading us to act impulsively or emotionally. The Stoics believed that real strength is not demonstrated by disclosing our struggles, but by facing them quietly and privately. By keeping our weaknesses to ourselves, we preserve our integrity and shield ourselves from potential exploitation. Think of a person who becomes easily overwhelmed by stress. If they speak of this frequently, others might intentionally or unintentionally add to their burdens. However, if that person silently works to develop coping strategies and emotional resilience, they gain greater control over stressful situations and exude a quiet, unshakable strength. Here's the Stoic invitation. Rather than focusing on your weaknesses or discussing them openly, use your energy to transform them. Allow silence to become your tool for growth. Reflect inwardly, recognize your vulnerabilities, and develop ways to fortify those areas. Let your progress be evident not through words, but through your strength of action. In this way, you cultivate authentic confidence and resilience, qualities that will serve you well when life tests you. Guarding your weaknesses is not a sign of fear, but a mark of wisdom and strength. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a thumbs up, and drop a "keep it up" in the comments below. Lesson 8. The Unspoken Dream. Nurturing your aspirations in the quiet of your heart. Welcome, dreamers and visionaries. In this lesson, we dive into the deeply personal realm of dreams and aspirations, but with a Stoic perspective. This time, we explore why it can be powerful to keep your most cherished dreams private, nurturing them quietly within the sanctuary of your heart. You might ask, shouldn't sharing dreams with others help with motivation and accountability? Absolutely, there is value in confiding in trusted allies. However, the Stoics also believed in the quiet power of restraint. They taught that dreams grow best in silence, sheltered from premature exposure and the turbulence of external opinion. Central to Stoic philosophy is the focus on controlling what lies within and accepting what does not. Dreams are beautiful and inspiring, yet they are also fragile. Sharing them too early or with the wrong people can invite doubt, skepticism, or even ridicule. Seneca reminded us that the greatest obstacle to living is waiting for tomorrow while neglecting today. The Stoics emphasized acting in the present, moving steadily toward goals without getting swept up in fantasy or future promises. So why is it wise to keep your dreams to yourself? First, doing so protects your inner vulnerability. Dreams often intertwine with our deepest sense of identity. Revealing them too soon can leave us feeling exposed, especially if others respond with negativity. By keeping your dreams private, you create a nurturing space where they can evolve, untainted by external judgment. Second, it maintains intrinsic motivation. The Stoics believed that genuine drive comes from within, not from outside approval. Once you share your dream, there's a risk that you'll become more invested in the reactions of others than in the dream itself. Guarding it preserves your connection to your own passion and keeps your fire burning brightly from within. Third, it cultivates patience and resilience. Big dreams don't manifest overnight. They require perseverance and time. Sharing them too early may set unrealistic expectations and lead to disillusionment if progress is slow. By keeping them close, you stay grounded, able to celebrate small wins and push through obstacles with enduring strength. Let's take this philosophy into the real world. Imagine you're quietly planning to start a non-profit organization to uplift underserved communities. Sharing that vision too soon might attract doubt or dismissive comments. But if you work silently, laying the foundation first, you protect your mission and remain focused on what truly matters. Or maybe you're an artist working tirelessly in private to hone your craft. Exposing your work prematurely could invite criticism that shakes your confidence. But by waiting until you're ready, you give your creativity the space it needs to blossom into something truly your own. So here's your Stoic challenge. When excitement about a dream fills your heart, pause before you share it. Ask yourself whether speaking about it will help bring it to life, or if it might cause distractions or a dependence on others' validation. Remember, holding your dreams in silence isn't about secrecy, it's about sacredness. It's about giving your aspirations room to breathe and trusting your own inner compass to guide you forward. Let your actions, not your words, reveal the depth of your dreams. Lesson 9. The Sanctuary of Solitude. Embracing the quiet strength within. Welcome, Solitude seekers. In this final lesson of the series, we explore the profound importance of solitude, a space the Stoics regarded as sacred and essential for personal strength and clarity. In a modern world obsessed with constant connection, solitude is often misinterpreted as loneliness or something to be avoided. But the Stoics saw it as a gift, an opportunity to connect more deeply with oneself and draw from an inner wellspring of peace. To the Stoics, Solitude was not about retreating from life, but about engaging more fully with oneself. They believed that the quiet moments away from society's noise are where the soul finds its voice. It's in solitude that we can reflect on our values, examine our fears, and build unshakable self-reliance. Seneca once said, "Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is the richness of self." In this light, solitude becomes a refuge, not from others, but into the richness of your own being. Why did the Stoics choose to keep their solitude private? First, it preserves the sanctity of your inner sanctuary. These moments of quiet reflection are intimate and powerful. Sharing them too freely can weaken their transformative potential and make you feel unnecessarily exposed. Keeping solitude sacred allows you to protect the mental and emotional clarity that it cultivates. Second, it helps avoid misinterpretation. Not everyone sees solitude for what it truly is. Some may confuse it with antisocial behavior or emotional withdrawal. By keeping your practices private, you avoid the judgments of those who don't understand the strength that solitude brings. Third, it nurtures self-reliance. In solitude, you become your own source of inspiration, comfort, and direction. You build an internal compass that doesn't depend on the opinions or presence of others. When these moments are shared too casually, it can create a reliance on validation that weakens the very independence solitude is meant to develop. Let's ground this in everyday life. Suppose you've built a daily meditation practice that centers and calms your mind. Telling others might invite questions, doubts, or even skepticism that pull you away from the peace you've built. By keeping it to yourself, you maintain its sacred power. Or maybe you take long, reflective walks through nature that spark creativity and inner balance. If shared too widely, these walks could become social events, disrupting the quiet solitude that gives them meaning. Keeping them private preserves their unique magic. So here's your final challenge. Honor your solitude. Make time for it. Treat it as a sacred space and protect it as you would something precious. Whether through meditation, writing, nature walks, or quiet contemplation, let solitude become a place where your soul can breathe. It's not isolation. It's communion with your truest self. As we wrap up this journey through the 9 Stoic keys to outsmarting the noise of the world, remember that wisdom doesn't come from applause or comparison. It arises from inner strength, unwavering self-awareness, and a life aligned with your deepest values. By living these Stoic truths, you'll find yourself equipped to face life with grace, power, and peace. Keep learning, keep growing, and above all, keep shining the quiet, powerful light of your Stoic soul. Have you ever felt like your mind is an open notebook filled with 1,000 tabs all running at once, yet none of them actually helpful? You're definitely not alone in feeling this way. In today's fast-paced world, overthinking has practically become a full-time sport, though unfortunately not a healthy one. We've been conditioned to believe that if we're not constantly solving a problem, then we're being unproductive. But here's the truth. That very mindset is what's draining you. Let me share a secret with you, one that's both simple and powerful. You don't need to overthink to live well. In this video, we'll explore how Stoic philosophy offers 10 transformative strategies to protect your mental energy from bursting like a birthday piñata. Stick around until the end, because the final strategy might just surprise you. It's based on a truth we often overlook. Less really is more. And once you start detoxifying your mind from the clutter of useless thoughts, you'll gain something incredibly valuable: inner peace. So if you're ready to stop being a captive to your own thoughts, come along on this journey of clarity. And yes, letting go is the first step. But before we dive into the strategies, let me tell you a story that will help you fully grasp the wisdom behind this message. There was once a young traveler named Lucas who set off on a long journey in search of wisdom. After walking many roads and meeting all kinds of people, he finally arrived at a secluded monastery nestled high in the mountains. There, he met an elderly teacher known for his unshakable calm and mental clarity. Lucas, exhausted and burdened by a whirlwind of thoughts, knelt before the teacher and asked for help. "Master, I can't quiet my mind," he said. "My thoughts overwhelm me. I can't rest or enjoy the moment. How can I find peace?" Without saying a word, the teacher handed Lucas a cup and began to pour tea into it. The tea reached the brim and then began to spill over, flooding the table. Lucas, startled, said, "Master, the cup is full. It can't take any more." The teacher smiled and replied, "Exactly. That's how your mind is, so full that nothing else can enter. To find peace, you must first empty the cup." At that moment, Lucas realized that his thoughts had been piling up like the overflowing tea, one after the other, until they drowned out his calm. The first step to detoxifying his mind was clear. He had to release the unnecessary. The teacher then shared 3 simple yet powerful strategies to help Lucas begin this process. First, breathe and observe your breath. The breath is your anchor to the present moment. When you focus on it, your mind is gently pulled away from the chaos of constant thinking. Take a few minutes each day to breathe deeply, to simply observe your thoughts as they come and go, without judgment and without clinging to any of them. Second, write and release. Sometimes your thoughts need a place to go. Writing them down creates that space. It's like tidying up a messy room. Putting pen to paper helps clear your mind of the clutter and frees you from unnecessary worries. Lastly, focus on what's essential. Not all thoughts are worth your time. Learn to distinguish between what truly matters and what's just noise. As Stoic wisdom teaches, don't waste energy on things outside of your control. Let go of what doesn't depend on you and turn your attention to what you can change. With time, Lucas began practicing these principles. His mind slowly grew quieter, and the mental storm he once carried began to subside. Now, whenever he faced inner turmoil, he remembered, empty the cup, because peace of mind doesn't come from trying to control every thought. It comes from knowing how to let go. Now let's begin with the first strategy, the art of letting go. Let's be honest, we've all been stuck in that dark place in our minds where questions like what could have been and what should happen pile up, leaving us emotionally drained. Often we cling to these thoughts as if our entire life depends on them. But here's a question for you. That thing you keep replaying in your head, can you even control it? If not, then why let it torment you? Yes, I know. It's easier said than done, but here we're going to talk about practical ways to stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and start clearing space in your mind. Because, believe it or not, letting go is the very first step. One of life's biggest ironies is this: the more you try to control everything, the more you realize how little you actually can. You spend your days planning for every possible outcome, anticipating problems that might never happen, and you miss out on living in the moment. It's like trying to stop the wind with your bare hands. The Stoics called this kind of mental exhaustion a waste of vital energy. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's great teachers, said life is made up of two categories: what depends on you and what doesn't. And yet, we spend the majority of our time obsessing over things we can't change. Letting go of control isn't about giving up, it's about becoming smarter with how we use our energy. Think of uncertainty as an uninvited guest at your party. At first, it annoys you, but after a while, you stop resisting and learn to coexist. When you stop fighting the unpredictable, you start to free your mind. Try this. Imagine wearing a pair of glasses that only let the truly important things through. When a negative or useless thought appears, ask yourself, is this truly important? Can I do anything about it? If the answer is no, then let it go. It's not worth the space it takes up in your head. Think of it as spring cleaning. You wouldn't keep broken things or junk in your home, so why do it in your mind? Also, remember that your mind can behave like an unleashed dog, and your thoughts are the sticks you keep throwing. The solution is simple. Stop throwing the sticks. Bring your mind back to the present, over and over again, until it becomes your new habit. Mindfulness is a powerful way to ground yourself. It's not about having a blank mind, but learning not to be dragged away by every little worry or fear. Accept, too, that you can't please everyone. Trying to do so is like trying to catch water with your hands. In the end, you'll just feel exhausted and frustrated. Letting go doesn't mean you're quitting. It means you're choosing to protect your peace. It's a conscious decision to stop wasting energy on things that don't serve your growth. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true freedom doesn't come from controlling everything. It comes from controlling how we respond to what we can't change. Paradoxically, the way to stop overthinking is to stop trying to control what can't be controlled. So when life asks you to let go, do it with grace, because only by doing so can you truly move forward. And take this to heart, my friend, those who learn to let go are the ones who truly learn how to live. Now let's talk about something incredibly simple but often forgotten: a minute of silence. Have you ever tried to put out a fire by throwing more fuel onto it? Of course not. So why do we try to solve mental chaos by thinking even more, as if giving it one more round of thoughts will finally bring clarity? What if I told you that the smartest thing you can do in those moments is stop? Yes, you heard me. Just stop. There's real magic in conscious pauses. A brief moment of silence, if done with intention, can detox your mind better than any self-help book on the market. We live in a world that moves so fast, we've forgotten one of the most healing acts: to simply breathe. And no, I'm not talking about the automatic breathing you do without thinking. I mean taking a moment to pause, to let everything go, and to simply be. Sounds scary, doesn't it? Because we've been told that being busy equals being productive, that if we're not fixing a problem, we're wasting time. But that's where we're wrong. Sometimes what we really need isn't more thinking. It's a break from thinking altogether. Taking a conscious pause is like switching your phone to airplane mode. The messages and notifications are still out there, but you choose when to reconnect. This pause is a simple, effective tool for mental clarity, a reset that the Stoics deeply believed in. They called it contemplation, because honestly, what good is constant thinking if your head is just a tossed salad of badly dressed worries? The next time your thoughts are racing 1,000 miles an hour, take a moment to stop. Close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath. Let your thoughts drift past like cars on a busy highway. Don't try to catch them, don't wrestle with them, and don't analyze them. Just watch them come and go. This simple exercise is like switching off the TV when the channels are full of static. Stop being the overzealous detective examining every inch of your mind. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is not try to solve everything. Imagine your mind as a fogged-up window. If you keep wiping it furiously, trying to see clearly, you'll only smear it more. Instead, let time clear it up naturally. With patience, the view becomes sharp again. Remember how, as a child, boredom often opened the door to creativity. You're not being told to chase boredom, but rather to embrace moments of doing nothing. Because, paradoxically, doing nothing often does the most. Stillness is where your greatest ideas begin to breathe. Set aside just 5 minutes each day to sit in total silence. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and the quiet. You don't need to meditate or become a monk, just allow the silence to speak. You'll be surprised at what it teaches you. The real issue isn't that you think too much, it's that you don't know when or how to stop. And that, my friend, is what drains you. Practicing conscious pauses is like letting your mental soup rest, allowing the flavors to blend naturally. You don't need all the answers right now. Sometimes the wisest response is simply to pause, to let things settle. From that stillness, you'll gain a clearer perspective. A clear mind doesn't mean a mind that's never full. It means one that knows how to release what it no longer needs. As Paulo Coelho once said, the solution often isn't in finding more answers, but in creating enough space for the answers to arrive on their own. Clear your mind with Stoic philosophy. Ask yourself how often you've gotten trapped in mental loops, obsessing over things that don't even deserve your time or energy. You're not alone. The human mind is like a hyperactive child on a sugar rush, constantly jumping, worrying, overanalyzing. But the Stoics, those wise old souls with calm eyes and flowing robes, held the secret to quieting the noise and redirecting focus to what truly matters. They taught that thinking less doesn't mean being shallow. It means knowing how to sort out what's worth your attention and what isn't. Why not train your mind the way you'd train your body? Stop overthinking everything. Learn to live lighter. One way to do this is to adopt what you might call a mental remote control. Just like you'd switch channels when something boring or distressing is on TV, do the same with your thoughts. When you're stuck in worry and mental reruns, change the channel in your mind. Another Stoic method is what they called negative visualization. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Imagine it, really see it, and then let it go. It's like preparing for a storm. You carry your umbrella just in case, but you don't spend all day staring at the sky. You get on with your life. Also, learn to simplify. Not every problem needs a deep investigation. Not every moment needs a solution. Your mind is like a suitcase. If you stuff it with things you don't need, every step becomes heavier. Choose only what truly matters. Let go of the mental baggage that serves no purpose, and practice silence. Not the kind where you simply stop talking, but the kind where you stop overthinking. Just be. Don't ask why you feel a certain way or what you should do about it. Just sit with whatever is present in that moment. The Stoics spoke about living in harmony with nature, and that includes accepting reality as it is, without piling on extra thoughts that only make things more complicated. At the end of the day, Peace of mind is not about having an empty head, but about thinking with intention, less noise, more clarity. Living more isn't about packing your days with activities, it's about reducing the internal chatter. Train your mind to focus on what matters. That's where true freedom lies. Start by thinking less, but thinking better. Epictetus once said the goal isn't to have fewer worries, but to be more selective about which ones we choose to entertain. Every day, life can feel like an all-you-can-eat buffet of decisions. So many choices, so many mental dishes laid out before you, and in the end, you often end up overloaded, stuffed with more than you actually wanted. That's what happens when we don't create mental boundaries, when every little decision becomes an exhausting puzzle. But here's something that might help. Just make 3 solid decisions each day. That's all. Fewer choices, less stress, more clarity. It may sound too simple to be true, but this is Stoic wisdom in action. Your first decision of the day should be to limit the unnecessary. Let's be honest, most decisions we face are pointless. How many times have you stood in front of your fridge wondering what to eat, or stared at your closet trying to decide what to wear? Cut that out. Build routines that strip away those trivial choices. Decide your meals ahead of time. Pick out your clothes for the week. The mental relief from not sweating the small stuff is huge. The Stoics understood that peace of mind comes from simplicity. The calmest people you know, they're not calm by accident. They've cleared their lives of unnecessary complications. And when you clear out the clutter, your mind naturally quiets down. Your second daily decision is about focusing your energy. Think of your attention like a flashlight. If you aim it everywhere, the light weakens. If you point it at one thing, it shines with intensity. Decide what you're not going to think about today. You don't have to solve every problem at once. You don't have to consider every outcome of every action. Pick one thing that matters. Focus on that. Let the rest wait. This isn't laziness, it's wisdom. If your mind is jumping from thought to thought, it's like trying to fill a bathtub with a strainer. You're working, but nothing sticks. Get focused, and mental overload begins to disappear. The third decision is just as crucial. Choose to rest your mind. Not necessarily by taking a nap, though that's not a bad idea, but by consciously stepping away from your mental whirlwind. Let yourself disconnect, even briefly. Give yourself permission to breathe. Take 5 minutes to stare out the window. No agenda, just rest. You don't need to meditate for 2 hours. Just stop. Even if it's only for a few moments, that silence is like a reset button. The Stoics never promised a life without chaos, but they did teach how to find calm inside yourself. If your mind is peaceful, the world outside can't shake you as easily. Less is more. Reduce useless decisions. Focus your energy. Prioritize rest. You'll notice how the weight you carry in your mind begins to fade. You can't control the wind, but you can always adjust your sails. And when you do, you'll feel the difference. Remember, simplifying doesn't mean you're less capable. It means you're smarter with your energy. Stoic wisdom reminds us that real freedom isn't about having endless options. It's about knowing when to say enough. Think about how satisfying it feels to throw out trash. There's something almost sacred in the act of clearing space, removing what's no longer useful. Your mind needs the same treatment. Every day we accumulate mental waste, useless thoughts, unproductive worries, and nagging doubts that grow bigger the more attention we give them. But just like you wouldn't let your home fill up with garbage, you shouldn't allow your mind to do the same. The problem is that mental clutter is sneaky. It builds up quietly, like a virus running in the background, draining your peace, your concentration, and your energy. We take in so much news, opinions, other people's problems, and without realizing it, our minds become emotional landfills. So ask yourself, what systems do you have in place to filter what enters and stays in your head? That's where Stoic clarity comes in. By filtering your thoughts, by being mindful of what you allow to settle in your mental space, you can protect your peace and reclaim your energy. Let go of what doesn't serve you. Don't hoard thoughts like old junk. Instead, clean house, mentally and emotionally, and make room for clarity, calm, and the kind of life you really want to live. You might believe that your thoughts are beyond your control, but think of it this way. If you can decide what music to play on the radio, if you can choose to turn off loud reggaeton blaring on a Sunday, then surely you can also choose which thoughts to entertain and which ones to release. It starts by locating the mental junkyard in your mind. The Stoics emphasized putting your attention on what is within your control, and your thoughts fall into that category. So, when you catch yourself looping over something you cannot change, try visualizing that thought as an empty, noisy, rusty can, utterly useless. Then toss it out, or better yet, recycle it into something constructive. Set aside intentional time each day to unplug. This doesn't mean you have to completely abandon social media. That's not realistic. But it does mean setting boundaries. 20 minutes of news is more than enough to stay informed. The world keeps spinning, whether you obsess over every detail or not. Your job is to live your life, not to absorb the chaos. If you're constantly worrying about what tomorrow might bring, here's a simple but powerful technique. Anchor yourself in the now. The next time you're overwhelmed by all that needs to be done next week or next month, pause and ask yourself, what is one small, concrete action I can take right now? That small, present-focused move will start to dissolve that anticipatory anxiety. Just like you take out the garbage from your home, start taking out the trash in your head. Stop hoarding useless thoughts, and instead, recycle the ones that offer something of value. Remember, Stoic philosophy teaches that it's not what happens to us that defines our experience. It's how we respond. Treat your mind as the precious space that it is. Fill it with what nourishes you, not emotional waste that depletes you. Let this sink in. Your mind is like a room. Declutter it of what no longer serves you and make space for what truly matters. Less screen time, more real life. Be honest. How many times have you fallen into the trap of saying, just one more scroll, or let's see what else is there, like someone unconsciously reaching for another cookie and suddenly realizing they've finished the whole packet? You don't even notice that while your finger moves across the screen, your mind is becoming saturated with noise. Then, when you need your brain to focus on something meaningful, you discover there's no room left. You've become a passive observer of life, but not your life. Each time you dive into that endless stream of memes, updates, and headlines, it's not just your time you're losing. You're sacrificing your ability to disconnect, to reflect, to concentrate. Every swipe gives you a tiny dopamine hit, a fleeting pleasure like a piece of candy for your brain. But over time, this leaves you feeling hollower than fulfilled. The Stoics knew that inner peace doesn't come from distractions. It comes from mastering your mind and focusing on what's essential. But today's world seems designed to push you in the opposite direction. It wants you to flee from silence, to fill every moment with stimulation. What you might not realize is that this constant overload is what leaves you feeling so tired. Think about your routine. You wake up and immediately check your notifications. You eat while glued to a screen. At night, the last thing you look at before sleeping is your phone. Isn't it absurd that a device dictates every moment of your day? It's like being tethered to a machine that drains you more than it entertains or relaxes you. But what if I told you that you could start freeing yourself from this digital trap with small, intentional actions? You don't need to move to the mountains or permanently power off your phone, though that might sound tempting. Just start by taking short, conscious breaks throughout your day. Create little islands of calm by setting the phone aside, even if only for a few minutes. These pauses are like a reset button, returning your mind to its natural, grounded state, like a digital breath of fresh air. You can also set time limits for your social media use, like someone deciding in advance how many cookies to eat. It's easy to lose track of time online, but once you put boundaries in place, you'll begin to realize how much mental space you can reclaim. The Stoics valued moderation in all things, including technology. And please, don't fear silence. What terrifies us isn't the absence of noise, but the confrontation with ourselves, with the thoughts we've buried under the avalanche of distractions. Yet silence is exactly what your mind needs in order to heal and detox. Allow yourself to sit with your thoughts. Let them move through you. You'll begin to see everything with more clarity. And hey, here's a radical idea. Go for a walk without your phone. Really, no photos, no messages, just you and the world. It's more liberating than you might imagine. You don't need to document every moment. Just be in it. Suddenly the world feels wider, more real. It's a small rebellion against digital dependence and a powerful way to reconnect with yourself. The digital world was designed to grab your attention, but that doesn't mean you have to surrender your life to a screen. You hold the power to unplug, to find stillness in the chaos. As the Stoics would put it, true freedom isn't about turning off your phone. It's about mastering your mind so that external noise doesn't run the show. Listen closely. True rest isn't found by shutting down a screen, but by switching on your ability to live fully in the present. Take a breath and reset. Have you noticed how, in the middle of a whirlwind of thoughts, the first thing we forget to do is breathe? You might find yourself spinning in the same mental loops, lost in your usual worries, or juggling 100 thoughts at once. Yet the idea of simply stopping to breathe never crosses your mind. It's as if our brains are wired to overwhelm us, like modern Stoics facing the storm without the calm they once practiced. Breathing might seem too simple, too basic to be useful. Like, how could something so easy help you detox from something as complicated as mental exhaustion? But here's the truth. It's exactly what you need. Think of your mind like a computer that's been overworked. What do you do when it freezes? You shut it down and reboot. The same logic applies to your brain. When it's overloaded, a moment of mindful breathing acts as your personal reset button. When you're overthinking, your breath goes shallow and automatic. But if you intentionally take over, you can pause the mental noise. Inhale deeply, hold it, and then exhale slowly. Each breath becomes a small act of decluttering. Each exhale releases a bit of the mental garbage you've been storing up. That's how real detox begins, one breath at a time. Picture yourself as a stoic sage, serene and wise in the face of modern madness. Breathe the way they might have. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, and exhale for 4. It's such a simple rhythm, it feels almost silly, but it forces your mind to slow down, to break free from the frenzy. This kind of conscious breathing doesn't just calm you, it sharpens your awareness and helps you see life with greater clarity. Now imagine that every time your mind feels ready to explode, you open an imaginary window, not a physical one, but a mental release. You pause, breathe deeply, and let that mental fog escape through that invisible opening. It's an immediate relief, both symbolic and real. And then there's the easiest, most accessible trick of all, your reset ritual. Each morning, before heavy thoughts get a chance to settle in, take 3 intentional breaths. Inhale, exhale, with full presence. It's like prepping your brain to run smoothly for the day ahead. Try doing this before any major task, conversation, or stressful moment. Whenever chaos approaches, pause and breathe. This doesn't cost time or money, it just takes presence. In a world flooded with noise, simply connecting with your breath is one of the most powerful and effortless ways to return to yourself. So the next time you feel lost in thought, remember, breathing is not just a sign of life. It's also the easiest way to begin again. As Mario Alonso wisely says, whoever controls their breath controls their mind. It's funny, isn't it? How we sometimes get so worked up over things that don't even matter, as if we were waging our own personal Trojan war. Maybe your coworker didn't greet you, or your favorite show had a disappointing finale, or your neighbor decided to blast reggaeton at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. And there you are, turning your emotions into a battlefield, fighting over something that, if you paused for a moment and looked at it clearly, probably doesn't even deserve a second of your attention. Here's a hard truth that's worth remembering. Not everything is worth your time or energy. Picture your energy as a glass of water. Every drop represents your mental and emotional strength. Now ask yourself, would you rather pour those drops into watering a flourishing garden, or waste them trying to put out fires that were never yours to begin with? Choosing your battles is a constant exercise in setting priorities. If you spend your strength fighting every little conflict, you'll eventually be drained when it's time to face the ones that truly matter. It's like trying to juggle 10 balls at once. Sooner or later, one will drop. Stoic philosophy has always been clear on this point. While you can't control what happens around you, you absolutely can control how you respond. So, why not bring this into your daily life? It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to resolve everything, as though you're the main character in a self-improvement drama. But here's the reality. You don't need to respond to every challenge. Some things are simply not worth engaging in. Ask yourself this simple yet powerful question. Is this situation going to matter to me in a week, a month, or a year? If the answer is no, you already know what to do. Let it go. Release it, just like you would let go of a balloon that no longer serves a purpose in your life. The more you practice this, the better you'll get at recognizing what's truly worth your time and what's just mental clutter. Reducing the number of unnecessary battles you fight isn't weakness. It's a method of mental detox. Because the less energy you waste on the trivial, the more you'll have for the meaningful. Imagine your mind as a closet that's overstuffed with junk. The only way to make room for thoughts that truly matter is by clearing out the old, useless worries. Sometimes, real strength comes from not stepping into conflict at all, Not every issue requires an epic response or sleepless nights. The wise, the Stoics included, understood the importance of discerning which problems deserve attention. When you stop reacting to things that don't hold real significance, you'll be amazed at how much peace begins to surface in your life. Life isn't just a series of endless battles. It's about learning to choose which ones are actually worth your effort. As Seneca wisely said, knowing when not to act is one of the greatest signs of wisdom. And here's something else to consider. Do less to achieve more. We live in a world that glorifies being constantly busy. Multitasking is hailed as a superpower, but what if I told you that this belief is actually a myth? That's right. Doing many things at once doesn't make you more productive. It makes you more distracted. Think of a fly darting around, uncertain of where to land. That's what multitasking does to your mind. Sometimes the real key to being productive is doing less. We've been sold the lie that handling multiple tasks simultaneously is the hallmark of efficiency. But the truth? You end up doing everything poorly. It's like trying to cook, have a phone conversation, and watch your favorite show all at once. In the end, the food turns out bland, you miss half the show, and your friend doesn't even feel heard. Multitasking robs you of your most precious resource, your attention. The Stoics had already figured this out centuries ago. Focus is power. That's why Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations while playing a game of chess. Deep focus means pouring all your energy into one thing at a time. But to do that, you first have to detox your mind from the chaos of modern life. Begin by doing just one thing at a time. Sounds simple, right? But really think about it. How often do you have 20 browser tabs open just in case? Learning to focus on a single task not only boosts your productivity, it significantly lowers your stress levels. It's like listening to one song and savoring every note without being pulled away by distractions. That's how you should go through your day, task by task, fully present. Don't let your attention be hijacked by trivial matters. Also, look around you. Your environment matters. If your workspace is full of clutter, papers, old coffee cups, sticky notes, it's no wonder your mind feels overwhelmed. Mess in your physical space creates mess in your mental space. Clear it out. Give your brain room to breathe. This idea is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Simplicity and detachment from the superfluous. Even your digital space needs cleaning. Every notification is like a thief stealing a piece of your focus. If you really want to detox your mind, start by turning off those unnecessary alerts. Trust me, nothing is that urgent, and if it is, you'll find out soon enough. In time, you'll begin to reclaim your ability to concentrate. And don't underestimate the power of taking breaks. We've been conditioned to believe that constant activity equals productivity, but the opposite is often true. Your best ideas come when your mind is calm, not overloaded. Give yourself the permission to pause, to be still, to do absolutely nothing. Let your thoughts flow or dissolve entirely. Seneca said it well. True strength lies in the stillness of the soul. Mental clarity lives in those quiet spaces. The paradox of doing is that when you try to do it all, you end up accomplishing very little. The answer? Do less, but do it with intention and excellence. Simplify your life. Focus on what truly matters. As the Stoics showed us, a simple life is the path to genuine peace. One day, when you're older and wiser, you'll look back and realize that clarity didn't come from doing more. It came from learning to do less. And finally, understand this. Your mind is not a storage room. It's not a place to stash every single thought, worry, or problem as if they were boxes stacked on top of one another. Boxes you can't even remember why you kept. What happens when a storage room gets too full? It overflows. Chaos takes over. The same thing happens to your mind when you insist on holding on to everything. Each thought, each problem doesn't need to take up permanent residence in your head. Your mind is like a container, and every container needs to be emptied from time to time. Unfortunately, no one ever teaches us how to do that. So every night, you lay in bed with your mind buzzing, trying to recall if you sent that email, where you left your keys, or why someone didn't reply to your message fast enough. And so the mental accumulation continues, night after night. You become like a hamster running endlessly on a wheel of thoughts. But here's what matters. You need to learn how to empty that mental space before the day ends. No, it's not some kind of magic trick. The Stoics already had the answer. Not every thought deserves space in your mind. You can't control everything, but you can decide how you respond. That's where your power lies. Imagine making it a daily ritual. Right before bed, you do a little mental housekeeping. Just like sweeping the dusty corners of a room, you clear out the clutter from your head. One of the easiest ways to do this is through a technique called mind dumping. Grab a piece of paper or open your notes app and write down everything that's on your mind. Don't worry about making sense of it. Just let it all out, like emptying a shopping cart filled with random, unnecessary things. Another technique is visualization. Close your eyes and picture each thought as a cloud slowly floating across the sky. Don't hold on to them. Don't try to analyze. Just watch them pass by. Remember, not every cloud brings a storm. Not every thought needs to stay. True rest begins when your mind is at ease, not when the clock strikes a certain hour. Make mental decluttering a habit, and soon your brain will learn to release what it doesn't need. You are not a storage room. Your mind doesn't have to be cluttered like one. At the end of the day, all you really need is a clear mental space, one where peace can lie beside you instead of your worries. Like my grandfather used to say, what you don't let go of ends up weighing you down. What you don't clean out will eventually suffocate you. If you've made it this far, I invite you to write in the comments, "Not everything needs an answer." I'm eager to hear your own victories and experiences. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment. This helps YouTube recognize the value of this content and lets us keep creating meaningful messages for people like you. Thank you truly for your time and support. See you in the next video.